Your Honor, this is case number 340 on the calendar in the matter of Carver versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Carver, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
You were incarcerated.
Yes.
For how long?
Probably a year and a half.
And then you were released to a halfway house.
Yes.
From what I gather, you and your sister had been sort of estranged for a while you were in jail, and you discussed with your sister moving to Colorado, her moving to Colorado, and getting an apartment or a house together and sort of building a life together.
Yes.
And she did. She relocated. You were in the halfway house. You found an apartment together, signed a lease together. And then something happened and you were not released from the halfway house.
Correct.
You believe it was something that your sister had told your probation officer, but in any event, your sister, you say, forced you to pay.
Yes, she did.
Your half of the lease.
Yes.
Even though you weren't living there.
Right.
And that's what your lawsuit is about.
Yes, it is.
Explain to me how that's her fault.
When this started out in June of 2000, we discussed the move with her coming to Colorado. And I paid the money for the house. And she came shortly after. I had like one weekend there with her, 4 hours each day. And
you were allowed out of the halfway house 4 hours a day?
And that particular weekend, we had an argument, and I told her she was not going to be able to smoke her marijuana because I was on provisions that where I could not be around drugs at all because my problems were drug-related in the past. And it seemed to be a big effect. She said no, she wasn't going to quit it. She'll smoke out in the yard. Well, it wasn't soon after that that my case manager called me into his office and told me that he was going to cancel the whole thing and that I would not be able to get out of the halfway house for a time. He didn't tell me how much time, but I had to stay at the halfway house and I could not get out. So I was crying and very upset, and I said, well, okay, then I can't get out. There's nothing I can do. Can you get a roommate? And she said, yeah, sure, I'll get a roommate. And then shortly after that, my case manager called me in again and told me that I had to pay half of the rent. And I called her back and asked her, why? Why is this? I thought she was going to get a roommate. She told me she would, and she wouldn't even talk. She was just really nasty to me on the phone. And I do have proof here that I did pay the rent, and I also have proof that I was not liable for the lease because the lease wasn't even an issue whenever I rented the house. There was no lease on the house, but she insisted to the landlord to make up a lease because she needed it for housing authorities to help her pay her rent.
How much did you pay altogether? I
paid like $2,400 altogether. I paid the initial $1,600 and another $16, so $32.
$1,600 was what? For security?
The original, that was the first payment on the house, which was first in security. I've got that receipt here. Then I've got 4 more receipts for 4 more months of half of the $800 month rent, which is $400 each month.
All right, Miss Wilson. I want you to tell me only what happened as a result of your sister telling you she could no longer come to live with you because she wasn't going to be released. So that was beyond her control.
Well, I've got emails that shows our correspondence, and she told me that I told her she needed to find me a roommate if she couldn't live with me, and I gave her the...
She doesn't have to find you a roommate. Why couldn't you find your own roommate? Why wouldn't you want to find your own roommate?
Well, because I had health problems, and it was very complicated. Also, we mentioned the... and I did smoke pot at the time. I do no longer do that. That was stupid, and I don't want to be a bad influence on my daughter.
So, who else lives in the house?
Just me and my daughter. My son was there at the time.
And how old is your son?
My son is now 17.
So that there were 3 of you and 1 of your sister.
Right.
Why should she pay half the rent if she's only 1 person?
Because she agreed to. When I came out, we had a limited amount that we were living on, $512 a month. And I told her this is what I could afford to pay every month. She could have found a cheaper place. I couldn't even get housing authority to okay this house because it was so bad. The floors were caving through. There was cracks in the wall. I fell through the steps and hurt myself. I couldn't get housing to okay it. So I got out as soon as I could, which was in December. She paid for 4 months, which is $400 each month, which is $1,600.
Well, what about the $1,600 security?
I paid. I've got the receipts. I paid my half.
And how much was your half?
My half, there was $800 security. I paid $400. And $400 for the first. So it was the first and last.
Okay.
And I paid the deposit myself. She didn't pay any of the deposit.
I've got a receipt that I paid the first and last right here
Right,
from the landlord.
And I've got a receipt that shows I paid her back for my half.
Okay. I have this and this from the landlord.
And I've got the lease in her name that she signed before I got here.
What efforts did you make to find a roommate?
To be honest, I didn't, because the house was so run down. And I was
But you
just
did not?
I didn't.
Okay, can I see the receipt that you gave her for the $800?
It's all stapled in a pile, and I got the emails too, and I highlighted the parts that I was talking about. And they turned her down to get out because they told me she was a flight risk, because I called them myself.
That's not true.
Doesn't make it. She wasn't released.
That's correct.
So there was an impossibility of performance of her for the contract.
The whole deal with her was to get a place that housing would okay so that I could get their help, and they would not help me with this house. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made her liable if I could have gotten
Do you have
help.
anything from housing that says that the house was inappropriate?
No, because they gave me, it says that the windows have to be secure, that you have to have fire alarms, that the floors have
Whatever,
to be...
because the landlord suggests that you lost your security deposit because the house was left a wreck.
Yes.
No, I cleaned the house.
No, the landlord suggests that you lost your security deposit, and I assume you didn't sue the landlord for your security deposit back.
Yeah, I'd only paid $200, so no, I didn't.
You only paid $200.
Yes.
I paid $800.
Well, she paid $800.
No, we paid first and last.
No.
That wasn't a security.
Yes.
I mean, he might have worded it that way, but when I gave him notice, he used that last $800 for my last month's rent.
I understand that. He may have used it, but that was her money.
Well, yeah, it was half her money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Carver says her sister Julia Wilson owes for the return of rent. Julia is countersuing, claiming Terry used her identity when she was arrested for possession of crack.
All right, let's get to your counterclaim, Ms. Wilson, which I assume you want to pursue.
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawsuit suggests that your sister, in 1997, when she was arrested, used your name and identification. Tell me what happened.
She was arrested in 1998. I didn't find out about it until a year ago when I registered to vote. They said that I was a felon, that I couldn't vote. And she's got, that's me, Julia Pendleton, that's my maiden name, and this is my sister. And she was arrested for crack and possession of paraphernalia. And she had a broken jaw, so I hit her with a 2x4. And so due to this, I couldn't vote at first. I had to carry around this from the Tampa Police Department saying that there's no warrant out for me, and I've never been arrested, and I've never been fingerprinted, and it was humiliating and degrading, and it's still, Julia Pendleton will always be her alias.
You have
always.
been arrested.
Never.
Well,
Yes,
she's
you
been
have.
arrested before. Ms. Carver, did you, in fact, use your sister's identity?
Yes, I did. In 1997, I did. And I spoke with her about it, and I confessed to her about it. And
When?
When I found
in
out about it.
1998.
A year
And-
later?
Yes, and we did discuss this, and I told her, and I have felt very bad about this whole thing. I know it was wrong, and yes, I was on drugs, and I did a lot of crazy things. I have a nasty past. But she said that she understood why I did it. She said that she loved me, and she forgave me. And
Right.
now all of a sudden, it's all back up. It's like, you know, my past is being thrown in my face. This is 3 years I've worked hard to change my life. And it's like it's constantly, every time she gets mad at me, she throws this up and shows me that nasty picture.
You sued
I'm
me.
sorry, but I just can't deal with it. And, you know, I want to get this over with because I have a nasty past, and I'm sorry.
Well, there's
But she forgave me, I
There's
thought.
3 warrants out for her from Florida right now. And there's a warrant out for her in Tampa. So that's 4 warrants from Florida, active warrants on for her
If
arrest.
they were active, I wouldn't be here right
I
now.
can give you the VOP numbers right here.
Like to see him?
And she said she'd take care of it. I'd given her a year and a half to take care of it, and she hasn't made one phone call to get it taken care of.
What are the warrants for?
Violation of probation for grand theft and also possession of crack and bad check ring.
You know about these warrants?
Yes, yes, I do. And the grand theft was taken care of years ago. That one was from like 1992.
And the others?
The others were taken care of. The violation of probation was still active as far as I knew, but then my parole officer now said that there was nothing on the NCIC against me right now. Otherwise, they would not have allowed me to come here today.
No, they just wouldn't have extradited you because you're not worth it.
Ms. Carver, you don't mind if Officer Byrd gets in touch with your probation officer
Not at
to
all.
make sure that these warrants are still not outstanding, so I'm going to ask you to wait when court is over.
Yes, ma'am.
You give the probation officer, I'm sure he has the number, a call and ask if any of these warrants are still extant.
Sure thing, Judge.
Ms. Carver, my initial order was going to be in your favor for $1,200 for the rent that you paid, but the fact that you were arrested and used her identification without her permission, even though she forgave you,
Right,
she may have forgiven you until you filed a lawsuit against her.
right.
And now she said, well, now that you filed a lawsuit against me, I want to be compensated for the embarrassment, the humiliation that went along with this identity theft, which is
Right.
really what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
You had forgiven your sister.
Yes.
Okay. Until this lawsuit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're even. Who are you living with?
Myself.
Good luck. Check with Bird. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it's fair because I know what I did to her was wrong.
I don't hold it against her.
I've worked really hard for 3 years to straighten out my life, and I just wish it was not there to haunt me.
I hope she gets her life on track and does good.
We called your probation officer and everything's fine. Okay, she's
Thank
free to
you.
go.
Thank
God
you
bless
very much.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Warren versus Quintel. Step forward, please.
26-year-old customer service rep Lakeisha Warren is suing her former friend, 28-year-old maintenance worker Andrew Quintel, and his mother Joan Quintel. Lakeisha says Andrew owes for unpaid loans and for kicking her car. Andrew has a countersuit for harassment.
Miss Warren, Mr. Quintel was your boyfriend for a while. According to your complaint, you made a series of loans to him.
Well, no, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but I did make a series of loans to him.
He was a friend of yours.
Yes.
And in addition, at one point you say that out of anger and rage when you refused to loan him your car, he kicked it, causing some damage.
That's correct.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
All right, when was the first loan that you made to him?
12/27 of 99.
And how long had you known him before December of 1999?
About 4 years.
And tell me about how he approached you with regard to this money.
Well, his job is like temporary, seasonal, so he didn't have any money. And since I worked full time, then he asked me could he get a loan.
You have a cancel check?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
I actually have 3 of them and one more.
So you have 4 checks?
That's correct.
Okay. The first check that you have is $19.99 for $200, and you made this check payable to his mother.
Yes,
Why?
because he didn't have a banking account to cash the check.
Then I see checks in the year 2000. So after he didn't pay you back the December loan, you gave him more money in February of 2000.
Yes.
Then there's another check here in April of 2001 for $1,500.
Yes.
Well, tell me about that one. That's made out to cash.
I went to the bank and cashed the check in the pretense that he would pay me back on his next work day, which was the 10th.
In April of 2001, did you take a $1,500 cash loan from the plaintiff?
No, ma'am.
You know anything about $1,500?
No, ma'am. That's new to me.
Well, let's get back to the $280. $280 that's owed for a couple of years now. She gave you this money. This is clear. These checks were written out to your mother. Were these loans for you?
Well, ma'am, me and Miss Warren, we were friends for a while, so I mean...
Could you answer my question?
Yeah, that wasn't a loan.
What was it?
I can't exactly remember. It's been more than a couple of times that she's given me money or I've given her money. It's been over 6-7 year friendship, so I mean...
Okay, let me hear about the car.
It was kicked on the right side and the passenger side. He tried to let the air out of the tires, too, because his friend had dropped him off.
Tell me about that incident in February of 2000.
I was at work. I was working 6:30 to 2:30. He came because he wanted to use the car to, I guess, to run some errands. I told him no. He tried to let the air out of the car. He kicked the car so hard the rubber fell off.
Now, after this incident, according to your paperwork, you gave him $1,500 in cash.
That's correct.
Why would you do that?
Stupid.
You have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me what that's about.
Basically, I tried to end our friendship.
Why is that?
Oh, because I got a new girlfriend.
What do you mean a new girlfriend? I thought the plaintiff wasn't your girlfriend.
She wasn't
We're
my
not.
girlfriend,
So?
but
So you got a
she was
girlfriend.
a friend of mine. Yeah, I got a girlfriend.
And?
So the friendship started to deteriorate, meaning less and less time speaking and talking and being friends, and then nothing at all. And when this came about, there was numerous, phone calls and stuff to my mother's house when I was staying there at times, of hanging up in all hours of the night and during the day.
Well, why didn't he just leave me alone then?
Just a second.
How can you stalk someone if they... Okay.
If you tried to stop it, why did you still continue to take money from her?
We were still friends, I
What's
would
his
try to
definition?
stop it.
I don't want...
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, we were friends, and it would stop for a while, and then it would go on again for a while.
He's confused.
I'm confused.
Well, basically,
frankly,
ma'am,
I'm
basically what
Basically,
it is
we
we were
slept together, and that was it. That's it.
Shh, quiet.
Well, by her saying that, then you know why a lot of this stuff was going on then when I decided not to deal with her.
If you interrupt again, aside from the fact that you haven't proven your case, I'm going to throw you out. Do you understand?
Okay, go ahead.
Good. I have some advice for you and for your mother. Change your phone number and unlist it. And if she's being a nut, then you might just have to do that.
I would like to say I'm not calling those people.
No, I think that I should listen to me, Miss Warren. I believe that you're calling.
No, because someone's calling my house at all hours of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning,
I
hanging
think
up.
that probably, maybe his girlfriend is doing that. Are you telling me that you did not call more than 2 or 3 times a day, ever?
No.
Do you have any proof, Mr. Quintel or Mrs. Quintel, that the plaintiff called your home or place of business in the last 6 months? Because she says she has not. You have proof?
I have got.
No, she just has
I
times and
have
dates that she...
the times and dates that she has called.
No, I'm something from the phone company.
They don't have it.
So you don't have any proof?
No, it's my.
Okay. So far, Mr. Quintel, based upon the evidence that I've heard, you owe the plaintiff $30. That's all she can prove. The other checks have no indication as to what... I'm speaking.
What about his harassment?
I've dealt with his harassment. I think, Miss Warren, that you have to get over it.
I am over it.
Good. Very good. Your case is dismissed with the exception of $30, which you have, in fact, proven. And with regard to your harassment, you have no proof of harassment.
Well, that's because they don't let incoming calls.
What do you want me to do about that, sir? Proof is what you need in court. And I suggest that if a relationship, a friendship, an intimacy is over, you move on with it, both of you. Yeah. And the problem is, if you did, in fact, take this money from her, and I'm not sure whether you did or whether you didn't, but that is, of course, a possibility, she would be doubly angry if you dumped her for somebody else. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So maybe if you did, in fact, take money from her that you did not return, and if you want this harassment to stop, maybe you should give her back the money. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't, she just may continue to make your life miserable. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye and good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 358 on the calendar in the matter of Stenger versus Stenger. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Stenger, the defendant is your former daughter-in-law.
Correct.
Who is this?
My husband.
And who are you?
I'm Tasha.
How old are you, Tasha?
18.
You're the granddaughter.
Yes.
And you?
Jennifer.
Who are you?
I'm the partner of Deborah, 6 years.
Deborah.
Yes.
Okay. This is your lawsuit. It is your claim that your former daughter-in-law was having some trouble with Tasha. She called you and asked you if you would let her come and live with you. Your granddaughter did come to live with you. You claimed that your daughter-in-law promised to send you support for the child. She did not, and then your granddaughter took off from your house and went back to her mother's house.
That's basically correct, yes.
When did she come to live with you?
January 12th.
And when did she leave your house?
I noticed her missing the morning of July 16th.
Did things go all right between you when she was there?
Basically, yes, we had a couple normal teenage things, but other than that, Tasha was a wonderful child.
What was your arrangement with her mother with regard to support for Tasha when she was living with you?
When we got home on the 12th, Debbie was there with Tasha. She explained to us that she was having some problems with her at home and then asked us to take her in, and if we didn't do so, she was going to turn her over to foster care. So we took her in. We made arrangements that day that, you know, she would take care of her financially.
Well, no, tell me exactly what was said.
She never actually named, per se, a dollar figure, but she just led me to believe that she would meet her financial needs, and I just took that.
But you never discussed an amount?
No.
How much did she send you from January to July?
In the beginning, she brought over money orders, totaled $270. What I was getting was actually the child's father's support money. What happened was it ended up getting frozen, and then from
how much money was she receiving from your son?
$44 a week was payroll deducted.
Was there ever a conversation that she would turn over his child support payments to you?
Yes.
Did you ever discuss any money in addition to that she was going to pay you?
No. When we needed help, when I would call her, like how she needed some medical treatment, I would call and leave messages on her answer machine that I needed up and beyond what the insurance was going to cover. She never would return any phone calls.
Where was your son at this time?
He was there.
There where?
About 5 miles away, and he came over 2 and 3 times a week and spent quite a deal of time with Tasha.
Why wouldn't you call your son and tell him that she had some medical bills?
I called both, and he did end up giving me money.
Okay.
Total of, in the 7 months Tasha lived there, he gave me out-of-pocket money, $700.
He gave you directly?
Yes.
$700. And she gave you $270?
Yes. And
did she give you any more than $270?
Never.
Now, you say the child support at some point became frozen. When did that child support become frozen?
It started on February the 1st. I just simply asked the question to my son, do you have to pay child support money to a child that no longer resides at that address? And he, at that point, didn't even know the answer, so he called his caseworker and asked. And I guess that's what started it rolling. And then a notarized letter from Deborah on 2/20 states that the child was residing with me, and they just, after having heard from both parents, just froze the money.
And so the money kept coming in?
Kept coming in, but was not going, and to this day has never been released. There was, on October the 17th, there was a court hearing. And to my knowledge, what money was supposed to have been frozen while Tasha was in my care was supposed to be, according to this paperwork, turned over to me. But as of today, I've not received one dime.
Well, but you will be receiving.
According to the child
let
support...
let me see the paper that you
flip down
have.
to that. According to what they have told us, that Tasha was actually entitled to.
The impounded funds shall be released to Jean Stenger. That's you.
That's right.
So you will be getting that money.
At least the $600, yes.
Okay. Now, is there any discrepancy in what your mother-in-law has indicated to the story that you would tell me?
Yes, absolutely, Judge.
Let me hear.
I did correspond with Jean on taking some family intervention with my daughter. When Jean volunteered to take Tasha, there was no monies per se as an amount to keep her. I did tell Jean, providing that I did receive her father's child support, that I would indeed turn that over to her. Jean is correct on stating that the child support was impounded on February 2nd. Due to the child support being impounded, it froze my other daughter's child support also. I have another daughter. So while both child supports was impounded, I had to write a letter, as Ms. Stinger said, to get the child support released.
For your other daughter?
For my other daughter. Tasha's child support was indeed impounded.
Okay.
And I could not turn over the monies to Ms. Stinger.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at Sears and I'm at shipping.
How much money do you get for your other child for child support?
I receive $44.12 per week per child.
And how much do you earn?
I bring home about $700 every 2 weeks. But in January, I fell on my back. I was off work for 14 weeks, and I received 50% of my pay. I was bringing home $250 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Mrs. Stanger, your lawsuit seeks $3,000 from the child care expenses.
Right.
There has to be an agreement, which there clearly was not, other than the fact that she would turn over the child support payments to you.
Well, she did lead me to believe that she was going to care for the child. She didn't move her into my home with the understanding that I was going to meet all financial debt.
Right, well, you wouldn't have. She was getting $44 a week from your son.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, the $44 a week that she was getting from your son doesn't cover child care expenses, even when the child is in her care. So she have to use her income as well. She says that she was receiving half disability for a substantial part of that time.
That is correct, Your Honor, but that's not the whole story. According to all of these, this is the police reports that took place within their home. She was couldn't go back to work, according to the police reports, because she had to go to drug rehab.
That is a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jean Stenger says ex-daughter-in-law Deborah Stenger owes for child support costs when her granddaughter lived with her. Deborah says she gave Jean all of her child support money.
Mrs. Stenger, whether the injury at work was drug-related or not, if she could not work for that period of time, then there was no additional money coming in.
Right.
So let me tell you what would have happened, Mrs. Stenger. She could have gone back into court and pursued additional support for Tasha from your son. Stop shaking your head, because it's a possibility. I know. I was in family court for 25 years, sir.
But he didn't have a job, so he was hurt.
So you as parents pitched in and took care of your granddaughter.
Well, the only thing that I incurred so much expense, number one, I had to take her back and forth to school, round trip 4 times a day, 80 miles a day. She had to have $3 a day for lunch money.
I understand that it was difficult, but that's what grandparents do.
Well, you don't mind
And
it,
you
but when
wouldn't-
you're abused.
And you wouldn't be here today, Mrs. Stanger,
Mm-hmm.
were your son still married to the defendant.
No.
Of course not. And you're not suing both of them. You're choosing just to sue your former daughter-in-law.
Well, I felt because she had full custody of her, and we had virtually an agreement that that's where it
No,
should go.
virtually an agreement is not an agreement, Mrs. Stanger.
Because I didn't have her put it in writing?
No, you said it was my understanding that. And I believe what she said to you was, I will turn over the child support payments to you. So in addition to giving you the child support payments, she also gave you a little bit of extra money, $270. But that is not an agreement. It's not an agreement that is binding in a court. So you have a son who's not working, because why?
He has a heart condition and is still under doctor's care as of today.
So?
Well, what we're saying is he was working 3 jobs and they made him quit, okay?
Made him quit all 3 jobs?
All but one. He could remain to do it because he could do it out of his own home.
So you have a son who can hardly
Couldn't
take care
afford.
of himself, and you have an ex-daughter-in-law who's got 2 children, who was really paying the lion's share of support for both children for a long time, because on $44 a week, you don't take care of a child.
That was only after, what do you want to call it? The child support was had a reduction done in it. He was actually paying $134. I have a court printout where he paid her $100,000 over the time period from the day of the divorce.
Since when?
Was actually, when were you divorced, Debbie? 87?
So you're telling me from
1987
1987 he paid her $100,000?
Yes.
So?
Well, I'm just stating that he
So?
paid more than $44 in
What
that
I'm
time
telling
frame.
you is, so?
Oh, I understand that.
Doesn't come out to a lot of money. Sounds like a lot of money. Paid her $100,000. If you sell me, paid her $100,000 in the last 2 years, in the last 3 years for the support of 2 children, I would say. Okay, you know, man's doing his job. But since 1987,
Yes, I know.
if he's paid her $100,000, that doesn't cut it for me.
How many years was it?
14 years.
What about,
14, I'll figure it out what it is for you. All right, my trusty calculator. 100,000 divided by 14 divided by 12 equals $595 a month. Divided by 4.3 is $138 a week. Divided by 2.
No, 3.
3 at that time?
You mean she had 3 children?
Yes, in the beginning.
Well, glad you told me that. That's even less. So forget it. You got $1,500. But I have a sense that one of the reasons that you're here is because you're angry because your granddaughter left your house without so much as a goodbye, a thank you, or goodbye, I'm going back to my mother. Step up. Did you have a fight with your grandmother?
I had a few little
Well, the
fights.
last one. You left sometime in July. Why?
I got tired of hearing her and everybody put my mom down as she was a bad person.
And they did this to you, in front of you?
Well, they did it in their bedroom or in the living room or when I was in the room, like I was invisible, you know. It didn't matter where I was.
That's a big mistake. That's a terrible mistake. You're absolutely
That
right.
is not
That's
true.
not
Conversations
true.
were not held in
That's
front of
not
the child.
true.
Well, listen, may not be held in front of the child, but if they're held in a room where she can overhear them.
That didn't happen.
Well, that's what she says. What do you think happened? Why did she leave?
Number one, we got a phone call in regard back to the child support. On July 5th, they called. Debbie had kind of rapport with them, and she had been in their office on that day, and when she left, they had informed her on that day if she would get letters from both the children, they would release the funds. July 7th, Debbie started showing up at my home. Tasha was with us for 7 months. During that time frame, Debbie never one time called me or my husband and asked how the child was doing, if she was in need of anything, nothing. Like I said before, when I needed the help with the medical bills, Tasha had came to us. She had a root canal that needed to be done, an abscess on her tooth. Debbie did carry insurance, but when it came time for the insurance check come around, the insurance company mailed it to Debbie. Debbie took the funds and cashed the check and never refunded, never paid the dentist, never. And
That's a lie.
I have the bill from the dentist.
That's not a lie. Why did that happen?
When the check came to me,
Yes. What did you do when the check came to you?
I cashed it and I bought Tasha socks, underwear, and shoes.
Wrong. Wrong.
Absolutely.
That was wrong.
Yes, it was.
So, how much was the check?
$89.10.
You owe her that. You want to buy your daughter underwear, you buy your daughter underwear.
I didn't pay that. I didn't have a root canal done. I didn't have anything done. I still
The
have
child to this day hasn't had the root canal. The infection in her tooth was so bad They placed her on antibiotic, and I took her, as they requested, to a medical doctor. And well, what I'm saying to you, it was in her blood system. They said that it wasn't life-threatening yet, but it could get there. And if I hadn't got her help...
That's a dangerous situation,
it
I'm
is.
telling you, that
and
you
it was
want to
one
take
that
care
I
of
got
that.
placed in the middle of.
What?
The tooth has been pulled.
The tooth has been pulled?
Yeah. Thank heaven.
Well, it's cheaper than root canal just to pull out the tooth. Where was the tooth?
My
Wisdom's going to take
back
her
molar.
Didn't the dentist tell you that it would be better to do a crown and to do root canal work on a young child's mouth rather than pulling a tooth so that the whole mouth shifts? See, it pays to have a father who's a dentist. Didn't he tell you that?
Yes, ma'am, but I didn't have the $562.
Get it! Get 2 jobs. Get 5 jobs. Okay, so far I have that you owe her $89.10.
The only out-of-pocket expense, as far as for debt, she needed a new book for school. For one of her classes, $27.10.
So you bought your granddaughter a book. I'm not so concerned about buying your granddaughter a book. Listen, if the reason that you left your grandmother's house is because you heard her and your grandfather saying things that were unkind about your mother, that was a tremendous mistake on their part, not on your part. But if you wanted to be a little more grown up, you would have said, I want to go home to my mother.
That's all she needed to do.
One time, and they said that I couldn't leave.
That's not true.
They said that you couldn't leave. Why?
Because I lived there, and my grandfather would not let me leave.
You mean you felt like a prisoner? Is that what you felt like?
Oh.
It didn't happen. I think this letter here that she wrote
Did you go out with
herself
your friends?
explains why she left.
You never went out? In the 7 months you lived there, you never went out with friends?
Once a weekend, if that.
Fine, so you went out with your friends. Doesn't sound to me like you were a prisoner.
She went anywhere and everywhere she wanted. I seen to it she did.
Okay.
And I think this letter that she actually wrote here actually explains why she left. She thought she was going to get that money, just like I stated, from the child support, and they was going to spend it on those things.
Okay, good. She starts out with, sorry the letter's so sloppy, but dear Granny and Grandpal, I'm sorry. It's been great and all, but it was time to go home a long time ago. You don't get me or understand me. Well, that's probably true because grandparents don't get foolish teenagers. Maybe someday you will. And I know my mama's not perfect, but she is my mama and she needs my love. And I need hers. That's an honest feeling. I hope that you both know that I love you very much and I'll be back tomorrow for my things. It's not about how much you did or are doing or anything like that. It's just that nothing has changed in my heart. Your granddaughter says to you she knows she needs her mama right now.
And she should.
And that I will always have you. And she tells you what I'm getting a new job and a cell phone. She's made plans for school.
And all those plans have fallen through.
And she ends the letter by saying, I'm not dumb and you know that I will be thinking of you twice on everything. And then she says, Angel's love is always with you all. This is not a mean letter. She's just saying,
no, it's not.
It's a teenage letter. And she's saying, I love you, but I love my mama, and I have to be with my mama. And you don't really get my mama. You don't like my mama. May not like her style, but she's my mama, and I need to be with her right now. And perhaps it could have been handled differently, Mrs. Stanger, but that's not the way it was handled.
No.
So.
No, I think that's the whole thing in a nutshell.
I got you. I understand.
Since that time, we've not heard from her at all.
Mrs. Stanger, children need the widest possible community of love and affection that they can possibly get, even when they're 18 years old. And clearly, your daughter has had a lot of ups and downs. Fair statement? Clearly, when a mother gives up physical custody of a child to someone other than a parent, it's saying that there have been problems that I can't cope with. And the fact that her grandparents said, fine, we'll try, is a testament to them. Not something that should make you angry with them if they did some foolish things while she was there by letting her little pitchers overhear conversations. That was the wrong thing to do. But basically, they had reasonable hearts because they said, you know, she's our granddaughter and we love her. Let her come and disrupt our otherwise calm household. When a teenager comes into your house, your whole house turns upside down. It never is the same. So your grandparents loved you enough to say, come live with us. And your grandmother drove you back and forth to school. It was a big drive every day?
Yeah, it was.
Could she have said to you, if you're going to live here, you have to go to school locally?
Yes.
Of course she could have. She could have said, listen, I'm not driving an hour each way to get you to and from school. I want you to live with us, but you'll have to finish high school close by our house. But she wouldn't do that because you got your friends. You wanted to finish high school where you are, so she extended herself. It's time to put a period and not be so angry, okay? Will you try?
I'm not angry.
Are you angry at her?
Oh, no. No, not angry at all.
Good. I'm glad. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Parties
Oh,
are-
except for $89.10. That you get.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 336 on the calendar in the matter of Biggert versus Reed. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Biggert, the defendant is your former wife, and it is
Yes.
your claim that since you've been divorced, separated, and under a child support order, you have overpaid some $3,500 in child support.
Yes.
You say that it was not an overpayment, the money was used for the children, and there was some sort of an agreement for him to pay you additional money. You have a counterclaim for $700 because you say he was ordered to pay $700 in attorney's fees for some sort of a custody proceeding the two of you were involved with, and he did not pay that amount. When were you divorced?
1988.
And you have two children?
Yes.
How old are they?
Howard is 18 and Sarah is 16.
And what was the child support order?
It was approximately $1,200 per month.
And during what period of time did you overpay?
I'm assuming it was over the whole period because when I received the paperwork from the court, it just said we did an investigation from the time you started paying child support until the end of August.
So over a 13-year period?
Yes.
And you can't definitively say over what period of time you made these overpayments?
No.
Should have kept better records. Was the overpayment agreed to be reimbursed by the defendant at any time in court?
I was not aware there was an overpayment until I received the paperwork from the court saying they had done an investigation into the child
Let me
support.
see the piece of paper you received. At the time you received this order, it indicates that $3,573.85 was overpaid over the course of 13 years.
Yes.
I'll hear you.
All the money that I got was spent on the kids.
Were you aware of the fact, Mrs. Reed, that you were being overpaid?
Not at the time, no, because the checks always fluctuated.
When did you become aware that you were receiving too much money?
About a month and a half ago when I got it through the mail.
And when did you become aware of the fact, sir, that you had overpaid child support?
When I received that notice in the mail from the
When
court.
did you remarry, Mrs. Reed?
May of this year.
Prior to that, both children lived with you?
Yes.
And did your former husband see the children regularly?
No.
Did you see the children?
At times, but not.
You have a reasonable relationship with your children?
Yes.
Do either of your children live with you now?
I have custody of my daughter,
And how old is she?
16.
Which she does not live with him.
Who does she live with?
My second ex-wife.
Do you pay child support to your second ex-wife?
I reimburse her for any expenses that she incurs for my daughter, or I pay the expenses directly.
Under what circumstances did your daughter leave your home?
I think it was because I finally got help raising the kids, and I think it was too structured and she didn't like it.
Do you work?
Oh, yes. I have a beauty salon.
Are you under a current child support order for your 16-year-old daughter?
No.
How come?
Well, probably when she went to live with her dad, it was all of a sudden, and I was told she was moving in with her father. 3 weeks later, I find she's living with her stepmother. So I was not very happy about that. And no one's ever requested child support from me. But as my income compared to his income, I don't think there would be much anyways.
I'm not so sure.
Well,
How many children do you have?
5.
How many children do you have?
2.
I guarantee you if somebody requested child support, you would pay it.
Oh, definitely.
What kind of income did you have at the time that the children were living with you?
It was about $11,000 a year. So it was like all I could do to keep us in the house that we bought together when we were married, but I wanted to keep the kids where they were raised.
I want to do a calculation for you, Mr. Biggert. Maybe it will make you feel better. Difference of $3,500 over the 13-year period. Do you know what that comes out to, Mr. Biggert? $22 a month.
Yes.
Or $5 a week. So nobody got rich on that difference. And quite frankly, I don't feel justified in saying to the defendant, who really didn't know that she had received an overpayment, now you have to come up with $3,500, unless you can tell me that you don't think that she spent that $5 a week, at least in part, on the children.
Well, I think, Your Honor, that she's probably spent more than that, and I spent more than that over that 13-year period myself.
Right. That's a good thing. Okay. You want to tell me about this counterclaim that you have?
Yes, I've got information that he was to pay for our son being custody changed last year. It was ordered that he pay me the amount of $900.
$900 for what?
The attorney fees. for the custody.
What happened with that custody proceeding?
Well, actually, my son come back to live with us, with LG and I, and the 900 attorney fees it says here was to be paid to me to pay my lawyer, and so far Herb's paid 200 of it, and said he would pay me, or if I paid the other 700, he would deduct it from the 3,500 that I owed, and he would only be suing me for the 2,800.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel that was correct.
What did you
when
feel
the
was
court
correct?
order, because I have a court order here stating that he's to pay it.
You have a court order that he was to pay $900 for your attorney, and he's got a court order that says that he's supposed to pay so much for child support. He overpaid you in child support. You want me to give more recognition to your order than to his?
No.
So why should he pay you a penny?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Herbert Biggert says ex-wife Kim Reed owes for the return of child support. Herbert claims he overpaid and Kim kept the money.
Go ahead.
This was supposed to be paid back in January, and it was not paid. So
I understand. Well, that's your counterclaim. He's what?
Your Honor, if I might, you said yourself we were talking about $5 a week over 13 years.
Right. But it accumulates to $3,500.
Exactly.
Right.
This court order was basically after the fact as far as paying the attorney fees from a change of custody.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the countersuit.
When was the order?
January 9th, 2001.
Okay. No, he was still paying child support in January of 2001, sir.
Yes.
He was still overpaying child support in January of 2001.
But we didn't know until now.
I understand that. But for you to suggest that I'm going, or anyone would order him to pay you $700 or $900 for your attorney's fees when you have collected $3,500 in excess of the child support award, even over 13 years, is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Especially, Ms. Reed, since, and I don't know all of the facts, but you have a 16-year-old for whom you are paying zero support.
Because I was never ordered yet.
If a man, Ms. Reed, if a man said that to me in court, I don't have to pay child support because I was never ordered to pay it, I would wipe up the floor with them. You don't have to be ordered to pay support for a minor child. That's your obligation. That's your obligation as a parent.
But I do not have the funds that he has.
It doesn't make any difference.
But if my daughter needs something, I do go get her and take her.
No. You don't have to have the same funds that he has. Child support obligations are supposed to be fair. And you have perhaps less funds than he does, and he has more obligations than you do. You have yourself and your husband, and he's got himself, and he has at least 4 children that he's supporting. One is emancipated, but he has 4 children for whom he pays support, including your daughter, who is no longer living with you. So you should be paying something to his ex-wife every month.
To his ex-wife, I would.
Well, then you should be, and you don't have to wait for a court order to do that.
Well, see, I never understood how all this went. When I had both my children, he paid me. When he had Howard, or one of my children, and I had the other, it just got cut in half, and I didn't have to pay for Howard, so I didn't understand that I really should have to pay for her. And knowing that, I have no problem. I just didn't know.
Well, just a minute. I mean, I just want you to think about this. Howard went to live with his father, so he paid you half of what he had been paying.
Right.
Why should he pay you anything?
I don't
Why should he pay you anything? Now, you have 1 child, he has 1 child, and you each support the 1 child that you have in your custody. You think it's sort of fair that his child support order was cut in half. To me, you have far fewer obligations. You have a working mate, and if 1 child is living with you and 1 child is living with him, then what you do is you each take care of the child that's living with you. We shouldn't have to pay you a penny. That's fair. I try to be a fair person. In any event, Mr. Biggert, while I am minorly sympathetic with your position, truth of the matter is, if you never got this piece of paper from child support enforcement, you would not have known that you had overpaid over the course of 13 years an additional $5 a week. Correct?
Yes.
You would have been able to sleep easier.
Yes.
Right? Not a big deal. On the other hand, because the money went for your kids. There's no question that if she had an extra $5 a week, she didn't go out and buy herself a sable coat. That be a fair statement?
Yes.
All right. On the other hand, it is the height of chutzpah. You know chutzpah?
I know chutzpah.
To suggest that I'm going to give you any part of your counterclaim after you have been enriched over the course of 13 years, the amount of $3,500. So your counterclaim is dismissed, your lawsuit is dismissed, Go, be nice parents to your children, don't fight anymore, and try to be happy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. When the court determined that I had overpaid, and I thought it was fair to receive the money back.
I spent it on the children.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Aikman versus Ward. Step forward, please.
29-year-old store manager Christine Aikman is suing her ex-fiancé, 34-year-old auto mechanic James Ward, for the return of her belongings. James says she gave him the belongings in exchange for a car.
Miss Aikman, how long did you and the defendant live together?
6 years.
When did you separate?
We actually separated shortly after Christmas of last year.
And according to your complaint, when he left, he took some property that was yours?
Correct.
And that he owes you for some rent.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Ward says he doesn't owe you anything for rent, and that the things that he took, it was a trade-off with a car that you had together. That you took the car, and that was the agreement that he would be able to take certain property. All right, so I have a few questions. When you lived together for this 6-year period, how did you handle the finances, Ms. Aikman?
With his paychecks, he'd take care of rent, other little things. With mine, I'd take care of our cable, our lights, food, necessities.
And how much was the rent?
$5.95 plus gas.
And when you had to buy things for the house, how did you do that?
It would just depend on what money was where, what was left.
So tell me about these things that you say that he took that belonged to you. What did he take?
He took an antique bed that was given to me by my grandfather. My grandmother had passed away. I was also given her...
Okay. So a bed that was a gift to you.
Right.
From your grandmother. Justice. Sure. Let's deal with one thing at a time, please. An antique bed that was a gift to you. Not purchased, it was a gift to you. All right, Mr. Ward, let's deal with the bed. You took the bed.
All I have is a box spring and a frame, and it was given to both of us by her grandfather.
When you say
her
a box...
mattress, I left the mattress.
I'm not talking about the mattress. The bed itself,
Just a steel frame and 2 box springs is all.
Not
the
a
original
headboard?
bed.
It doesn't
Not
have a headboard?
No headboard, no nothing.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Give me a break. What kind of an antique frame? I never heard of an antique frame. I heard of an old frame, but I never heard of an antique frame.
She's had it forever.
Oh, Miss Aikman, give me a break. Move on. What's next?
All right. I also have a 27-inch color TV.
Now, where did the 27-inch color TV come from?
I purchased it with my tax refund about 4 years prior.
4 years ago while you were still together?
Yes.
While you were sharing your money?
Correct.
Okay. What's next?
There's also the antique, or the quilt that my grandmother handmade that I cannot replace.
Quilt? Where's the quilt?
It's not an antique, it's store-bought.
I don't care.
And she said I could have it with the bed, with everything else.
Yeah, she wants her quilt back.
Okay.
We'll put it in a box and send it back to her. It came from her grandmother. What's next? One quilt. What's next?
And the color TV.
How many TVs did you have?
We had one that worked and one that didn't. He conveniently left the one that didn't.
What else did he leave?
Well, the bedroom set that was given to me, he actually left that.
Bedroom set?
Yes. Washer and dryer. He left me my kitchen.
Kitchen set?
Actually, he took the kitchen table and chairs, but he left me my dishes, my pots and pans. He did leave all that.
So far, what's the vision in my head is that what you get back is the quilt. What's next?
And the back owing in rent that he left when he left in the middle of the night on January 27th.
Now, had you paid January's rent, sir?
No, I haven't. I made arrangements with the landlord, gave him a 30-day notice.
When did you do that, sir?
January 1st.
Well, that's not 30 days notice if you left on the 27th.
I gave him the 3rd. I told him the 3rd of February.
Okay. And
I
so
moved out earlier.
Show me the proof that you paid January's rent, because that was your arrangement. You were going to pay the rent. She was paying.
I haven't paid it yet. I
Your Honor.
made arrangements with him. I needed the money to move into another place.
So you haven't paid it yet?
No, I haven't.
All right, so so you owe her. All right, now how much did you have to pay?
I had to pay $710, Your Honor.
Let me see. And what the rent was what the rent was $5.95, is that right?
Plus gas.
And how much is the gas?
$73.57 plus $20 late fee.
Your Honor.
What?
There was a $250 deposit on those apartments.
Okay.
That I should at least be entitled to discount half of that.
They were only going to give back $100 for cleaning since they left it trashed.
Who left it trashed?
They brought 3 kids to the apartment after I moved out, and when they vacated on the 27th.
How much was the security deposit that was left? Show me.
As far as what I know and what the landlord told me, there probably wasn't going to be much left.
Well, that you have to proceed with the company anyway. You know you owe her this money. You said you needed this money to move into a new apartment. You owe her the money because your responsibility was to pay the rent. She paid for all the other bills. You were there practically the entire month of January, so that was your responsibility.
Right.
The rent. Other than that,
I also paid the electric and the cable bills.
All right. Listen, after 6 years, don't bother me with nonsense. Will you please? Okay. You get your quilt back because that was an antique. Tell me about this car. When did you purchase it, sir?
In 1999, we got it financed.
And you both paid for that car?
Yes, we did.
Is that right? And you now have the car?
I do. Because I was the only one that was licensed and insured on that car.
Doesn't make any difference, but you both paid for it and you have the car.
Right. Okay. Because when I took my name off the leasing, they gave him 10 days to get a driver's license and insurance.
Your Honor, that's totally false.
I'm not listening. Did I look at you to speak?
No.
I was the only one insured.
I don't care. What I'm saying to you is, let's be fair about this. You had a car that you drove as a couple for 2 years.
Correct.
You each paid a portion of what it took to maintain that car and to pay it off to finance it.
Correct.
Is that right?
I'm still paying it off. Yes.
Well, that's fine, but during the time you were both paying for it.
Correct.
You now have the car. You're getting the benefit of some of his payments for the car. Is that right?
That's right.
So why should he give you the last month's rent?
Because I was kind enough to let him stay in the apartment, not kick him out when he didn't sign the lease. He hadn't signed the lease.
He hadn't signed the lease. What difference did it make whether he signed the lease or not? He was paying the rent. So my question to you is, for 2 years, you each contributed to the monthly payment on a car.
Correct.
And how many years do you have left to pay on the car?
November, I believe, of this year, it will be paid off.
Fine. So now you have a car to which he contributed over the course of 2 years. Is that right?
Correct.
So you get nothing for rent. Goodbye. Have a good life. Have a happy life. Have a safe trip home.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge.
That's case number 377 on the calendar, the matter of Nichols versus Kirk. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Nichols, it is your claim that the defendant, who was your roommate for about 10 months, owes you for 10 months' rent and utility bills. Ms. Kirk says that she had a unique arrangement with you, which was that just her being there was enough and she owes you nothing. Is that right?
No.
I assume you signed the lease?
Not in the presence of anyone that should have been there at the time, Your Honor.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
How did you know each other when you signed the lease?
We were friends.
Just friends?
Yes.
All right. How did you first discuss with the defendant moving in together?
Well, she came to me and was, looking for a place, and she wanted to be closer to work, and we went looking out for an apartment together.
Okay, and you found an apartment?
Yes.
Did you both sign the lease on the apartment?
Yes, ma'am, and I have documentation of that.
Can I see it, please? Now, I see in this lease agreement that you've signed it, sir.
Yes.
And that the defendant signed it, but then in parentheses is written month to month only. That means that you were a month-to-month tenant only?
We came into a year's lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the way the lease was set up, it was basically set up for month to month, but written for a year.
No. What this looks like is that you've signed the lease. She signed, but under her name is month to month only.
Okay, it was agreed that it was a year lease, but written month to month.
Clearly, you signed the lease, right?
In the apartment with no one there. I did not one time go to the rental office.
You don't have to see anybody to sign a lease.
Okay, yes, Your Honor.
So you signed it?
Yes, ma'am, Your
Fine.
Honor. I did, on my own time.
I don't care if you
It was signed.
signed it upside down on Mars.
Yes.
You signed the lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what was the arrangement, according to you, with regard to payment of the rent?
The rent was supposed to be, as well as a security deposit, split 50-50 straight down the middle.
Did Miss Kirk give you the security deposit?
No, Your Honor, she did not.
And you moved in anyway?
Yes.
And according to you, for the entire time she lived there, she paid no rent?
Correct.
So what'd you let her stay there for?
She did a few things around the apartment for me.
Like what?
Cooking, cleaning, and just being a friend.
So you were satisfied with that arrangement?
It was understood that she would eventually be paying me, but...
Well, how was that understanding reached, Mr. Nichols?
Your Honor, we had a verbal as well as a written agreement.
No, there's a written agreement. That's with the landlord, but you were paying the rent, right?
I got stuck with the rent, yes.
Right. Well, why didn't you tell her to leave after a few months if she wasn't paying the rent?
Well, I knew it would be hard to find another roommate for one.
Well, you didn't try, and it couldn't have been any worse, Mr. Nichols. Could not have been worse. You had somebody living with you who wasn't paying rent. Couldn't be any worse living alone.
Well, that may be true.
So what happened, sir, in October?
In October, we had a falling out, and she left.
Tell me about the falling out, because maybe then I understand why this lawsuit.
Well, it was just a disagreement, and there was some alcohol that was involved, and I don't remember 100% what it was all about, but we did have a disagreement, and she left.
When you say you don't remember, is that because you were consuming the alcohol?
We both were.
Both of you?
Yes.
Now, it was after she left that you decided to sue her for the rent?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Ms. Kirk, now I'll hear you.
I met Mr. Nichols.
Just make sure whatever you tell me is true.
Yes.
You got it? I don't want to hear I didn't sign the lease in the presence of 4 eyewitnesses. I want to hear only the truth.
Yes. I met Mr. Nichols at a time I was very vulnerable because I was still in the process of drinking voluntarily. Mr. Nichols offered me a place to stay without signing any agreement financial-wise. He never wanted any money. I tried to offer him money, and February 5th of 2001, I did give him a money order for $300.
So you gave him a money order for...
I have proof.
$300. Now, what was that for?
I felt bad. I felt guilty because he never wanted any money. I tried to give him money. And so, in a way, maybe to make me feel better, that's what he wanted was money. So I wanted to show him that, yes, I could pay my own way.
Just a minute. When you said you gave him the $300 because you said he wanted money.
I felt he wanted money, but he never...
What made you think that he wanted money?
He had said something to the fact that he was not getting enough hours at his work, and I was trying to help and give him this money order on my own.
Fine. Any other money exchanged after February?
No, Your Honor.
Did Mr. Nichols ever bring up the issue of rent to you
No,
after
Your
February?
Honor. No, Your Honor.
Okay, so what happened in October that caused you to leave?
October 20th, I believe it was a Saturday evening. We were both drinking. I drink a beer. Yes, it is alcohol. But up until that time, Mr. Nichols had been consuming hard liquor, is what I call Jack Daniel's Wild Turkey. I was sitting at the dining room table, happened to get up to proceed to the kitchen area. Mr. Nichols was standing right here and grabbed me by both of my arms, tried to pull me forward. This is only one occasion, but this is the main occasion incident that should be brought out. He has before, in the past, tried to grab me and make me kiss him, make me give him a hug, make me tell him that I would love him or I love him, that I would stay with him. And it was made clear from the beginning that it was only a platonic relationship.
Okay. Now, on the 20th of October, he made an advance towards you.
Physically, yes.
And you left.
He made physically advances towards me, tried to push me down on the floor. Mentally, I believed where I knew that that was going to go to. I got up, grabbed the phone, called 911. The phone did go through. Evidently, whoever was on the other end heard what was going on. I got up, well, still had the phone. Mr. Nichols grabbed the phone, evidently pushed off. I ran into my room, locked the door. The next thing I knew, the police were at the door knocking. I ran, went out of my room, ran to open the door. There's police, and explained to both of them.
Were you taken into custody at that time?
No.
You were not?
No.
Okay. Were you taken into custody subsequent to the 20th of October?
No.
No. Okay. But you left shortly thereafter.
2 days, 2 mornings after.
Judge Judy will continue. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Nichols says ex-roommate Joyce Kirk owes for 10 months of rent. Joyce says after Daryl got drunk and made a physical advance, she moved out.
Mr. Nichols, the issue is very clear in this case, and it's a single issue. Whether or not I believe that in a strictly business relationship, because you were not boyfriend and girlfriend, you were living together as roommates, you would permit your, in effect, business partner to take advantage of you for a period of 10 months without paying any money on a promise that she would somehow pay in the future, and this despite the fact that Ms. Kirk was fully employed during the 10 months that you lived together.
Your Honor, may I interrupt for just a second, please?
Sure.
She would be going in and out of her job about every other month. She was not employed the whole time.
Whether she was employed for the whole time or not, the months that she was working, there would have been no reasonable excuse for her not to contribute her half of the rent, nor for you to permit her not to contribute her half of the rent. Now, there might be some credibility to your story, Mr. Nichols, if, in fact, she was not employed during that 10-month period. And out of the goodness of your heart, you said, look, I know you're looking to get a job, something's going to come up, I will carry you for these months until you get something. But that's not the case. Her circumstances weren't going to change. Her circumstances were she was employed, she had a job, you had a roommate, and you should have collected the rent every single month. You didn't do it. So there's something to be said for Ms. Kirk's position that you really weren't looking for rent. Even, Mr. Nichols, you said to me at the beginning of this case, she was cooking, she was cleaning, she was good company, and that's why I let her stay without paying me rent. The case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's something in here about him wanting to kill me.
I have no comment.
Got to stop thinking of me and her as a couple.
I have no comment.
Now we barely tolerate each other.
I have no comment.
Otherwise may end up killing her.
I have no comment.
I feel somewhat sorry for Mr. Nichols.
I have no comment.
I was proven right that from the beginning he was looking for more than just rent or a roommate.
I have no comment.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carson versus Greenberg. Step forward, please.
Holistic therapist Annabeth Carson is suing her ex-boyfriend, mortgage broker David Greenberg, for the over-mileage fee on a car lease. David says the charges are due to Annabeth's negligence.
Ms. Carson, the facts in this case are not very difficult, and I believe that they initially are conceded by both parties. You and Mr. Greenberg were in a relationship back in 1997, 1998. And in 1998, you leased a car for him. You leased it in your name because he had been going through a divorce or something and his credit was not good. So that the car was leased in your name, but with the understanding that Mr. Greenberg would be fully responsible for the car. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And sometime in 1998, the two of you separated. And the car remained in Mr. Greenberg's possession. Mr. Greenberg made all the monthly payments on the car, took care of the insurance on the car. You had very little, if any, contact with each other, and then you were notified sometime in 2000 or 2001 that you owed the leasing company over $5,000 for excess mileage that Mr. Greenberg had accrued on the car from the time of the initiation of the lease. You want Mr. Greenberg to pay that money, right?
Yes.
When was your first communication with the bank?
I started communicating with them in December of 2000. I was in touch with them throughout January.
Yes.
The car was supposed to be returned on January 5th.
Right.
It was not returned January 5th, and it was finally returned on the 26th of January. So during the entire month of January, I was on the phone with some of the bank officers trying to figure out how to get the car to be returned.
How did you finally figure out a way to get the car returned?
He just returned it finally on the 26th of January.
Your Honor?
Yes.
If she was in contact with the bank since December, they would have known. The bank contacted me on January 7th and asked what my intent was, and I said that it was my understanding could either continue leasing it and or purchase the vehicle. At that time, they said that they could only sell the vehicle to the person who was originally on the lease. I told them I had no way of contacting Annabeth. They said that they did. They would contact her and to get that permission. So I would never have had to returned the vehicle on the 26th, I could have gone through with my plans of purchasing the vehicle.
Let me see your bill.
And I also never received any calls from the bank at any time.
Why should she be responsible for your bill, sir?
No.
Why should she be responsible for your bill? She didn't drive the car.
It wasn't my bill.
It was your bill.
How could it have been my bill? If I purchased the vehicle, there would not have been a bill.
It was your bill. It wasn't her bill. She didn't drive the excess miles.
If the vehicle had been purchased...
Listen to me carefully. It was your bill. She did not use the excess miles, sir.
Your Honor, she knew the type of job I had and that I drove excessive miles, and it was always the intent, my intent and our agreement for me to purchase the vehicle.
Then you should have made those arrangements, sir. You should have started, you should have gotten an investigator. Listen to me carefully. You use the internet?
Somewhat.
If you use the internet, and if you can't get in touch with her, you put her name up on the internet, they'll tell you in what state she's located. You find her and write her a letter. And you say, please, I don't want you to be stuck with excess miles. I want to purchase this car, okay? And this is the only way I have to get in touch with you. If I'm not permitted to purchase the car, then somebody is going to have to pay excess miles. It's not going to be me, because that was not our agreement. I want to buy the car. Now, do you think that she wouldn't have let you buy the car, sir, if it meant that she wasn't going to be hit with a bill for all this money?
I had instructions from Annabeth not to contact her.
Mr. Greenberg, you're a faker, sir.
This...
You're a faker, sir.
Absolutely not.
You're a faker, sir. I'm not telling you not to contact her, not to go see her, not to send her flowers, not to send her candy, but to send her a registered letter saying, listen, if I can't purchase this car, it's possible that somebody is going to be responsible, and it probably will be you for the excess miles, so please, let's make arrangements. If I can't purchase this car, and so far I'm not sure that that's not true, if I can't purchase this car, why don't we make arrangements? You purchase the car, I will send you a certified check for the amount of the car, case closed. Then the car will be mine. That's an easy. You don't have to be a genius, and you're not a stupid man. Shifty, but not stupid. Did you settle with the bank?
No, I have not settled with the bank.
Your Honor?
He wanted me to settle with the bank, and I wasn't willing to settle with the bank until it was clear to me that he was going to take responsibility for paying for it.
This is from, looks like a collection agency. It says, our client will accept 75% of the total balance due to settle this obligation.
I only gave you that form because that shows what I owe. That's just the one that I had.
I'm asking you what they're prepared to accept to settle this bill.
Well, apparently, according to that, they're prepared to accept that. At this point, they might be prepared to accept something different. I don't know. I haven't discussed that with them.
Well, let's go and find out.
And, Your Honor?
What?
Wouldn't it have just been as easy for Annabeth, having known when the lease was up, to have made that call to the bank on January 5th?
She didn't use the car. You did. It was your responsibility.
She was on the lease.
Your responsibility. She was on the lease as a favor to you.
She was on the lease.
She was on the lease as a favor to you. If she wanted to, sir, she could have bought out of this lease. A year after she had the lease, may have taken a loss when you separated and said, I'm not leaving you with this car that's in my name. She could have done that too.
I offered to give it to her also at that time. But if I signed a lease for someone and I knew it was up, I would make the final arrangements.
Would you?
Because I would have been responsible
you're really
for the
How old
vehicle.
are you?
49.
Sir, you were 49, so you were 44 or 45 when somebody else had to assume the responsibility for leasing a car for you because you were so irresponsible in your personal or financial life that you had no credit to buy or lease a car. So don't suggest to me that you are so responsible that you would have taken over the obligation of doing what you were supposed to do, because at age 45 you weren't able to do that when you needed a car to get to work. Now, let's find out from the bank what they're prepared to settle for. This is Judge Judy Scheindler, and I'm calling you from Los Angeles. I'm in the process of trying a case involving the people that are involved in this lease. I have a letter here that you sent dated the 5th of October of '01 to Miss Carson, who had leased the car for Mr. Greenberg. So what I want to know is, at this point, what is the bank prepared to settle for to close out this account? $41.25.79. Now, my next question to you is, if this matter is settled, okay, for $41.25.75, and you receive a check for that, is there any negative impact on her credit? Okay, so you get a paid letter. Very good. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, you too. All right. I've had an opportunity to speak to this FMA Alliance Limited, who were really merely a collection agency. The gentleman was very cooperative. The amount due as of today is not $55.3807. They're prepared to resolve this matter for $41.25.75 with a check made payable directly to them from, of course, the defendant. So judgment for the plaintiff in that amount, $4,125.75, with a check being made payable directly to the company. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 400 on the calendar in the matter of Cleary versus Tibbs. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Young men have seats. You're welcome.
Mr. Cleary, it is your claim that the defendant threw a trash can at your car one evening, causing damage to your car. Mr. Tibbs says that he had nothing to do with throwing this trash can at your car. When did it happen? Where were you? And what were you doing?
It was November 9th, and it was after our school dance. And me and my friend and 3 other people were at the park with our friends, and Stephen Tibbs showed up, and we were just all hanging out there, you know, just looking for something else to do. But it started getting late. It was around 12:40, and I had to be home at 1. So I was like, I'm leaving now. And the girls, the ones that I gave a ride there with, they knew I was the only one there not drinking, and so they wanted to...
That's a lie, Your Honor.
They knew I wasn't drinking, so they wanted a ride home with me because they wanted to go to the party because Tibbs asked them to go to a party. And when they said no, they were going to get a ride home with me.
That's a lie.
What word didn't you understand? I said, be quiet. Go ahead.
Tibbs became very angry and to a point of violent. When the girls started getting in the car, he was pushing them, and one of the girls' leg was still hanging out, and he slammed the door on her leg, or he tried to, and I mean, it bounced off her leg. After we got in the car, we could see him. He had the trash can picked up, and people were yelling, Tibbs, no, Tibbs, no.
Did you see him with the trash can in his hand, not
I
the
saw
girls?
I saw him with the trash can in his hand like this. He had the trash can up around his head level. And I was parked. I had to back up and go like that, and he was on this side of me. When I backed up, he hit my car with the trash can.
Okay. And may I see the estimates of the damage and any photographs that you have? So the trash can didn't hit the top of the car, it hit the side of the car.
Yeah, the rear right fender.
All right, Mr. Tibbs, now hear your version of the event, sir.
Okay.
Now it's time to speak.
All right. I have a little bit of different story. First of all, I didn't throw the trash can at his car.
Let's start from the beginning. You're out in the field at the park.
Yeah, I'm at the park talking to girls, and I'm with my witness, Frank. I see Mike drive in. He drives in kind of crazy. His tires were screeching. He came from the dance. When he got out of his car, he was drinking beer. For the half hour we were there, I seen him drink 3 beers personally. He stumbled back into his car. He backed out, peeled out, and I watched him fishtail into the trash can. The damage was on the bottom right-hand side. I watched him hit the trash can.
So you did not throw the trash can at his car?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any witnesses here, sir?
Right here.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Sean.
Sean what?
Blevins.
Tell me what you saw.
Well, when we got there...
Look at me.
Sorry. When we got there, we were talking with the girls.
I want your eyes to stay fixed on mine.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Stephen came after...
Your eyes are moving around.
Came like 5 to 10 minutes later, and he was drinking. He had friends with him, and then we were going to leave, and he got mad at the girls because they didn't want to go to the party. So he started to become violent with the girls and started like pushing them around. Okay, fine, then you, and stuff like that. And then we got in the car because Mike had to be home later on that night because he had something to do the next day. And we started backing up, and I heard people saying, Tibbs, no, Tibbs, no. And I looked out the back of the car because I was in the back seat, and he had a green garbage can in front of him, and like the driveway comes in right here, and there's like a little island type thing where you could park next to it, and the trash can was right here, and Mike was parked over here, and Tibbs and a whole bunch of other people were standing over here, and then we backed up and we went to take off because we were giving the girls a ride home, and he threw the garbage can at the car.
You saw him throw the garbage can at the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you see it hit the car? I want you to listen to me very carefully, because I've looked at the damage to the car, and I'm not saying he's not responsible for the damage. My question is, did you see the garbage can at that time hit the car as he threw it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or did you see it hit the ground and then bounce up at the car?
No, it hit the car. He was like this, and he threw it at the car, and like the corner of the garbage can, it hit the fender and it dented it, and then it fell down, and all the garbage and everything came out of it.
Now I'll hear your witness. Your name, sir?
Frank Ambrose.
Where were you standing?
I was standing by my truck. I was the one driving.
Who were you driving?
Steven, just me and him by ourselves. We went there to meet up with girls. It's right by the school parking lots.
Okay.
Park and everything. We meet up there a lot. We went there. When we got there, he was with a bunch of girls. I don't remember seeing his witness. This is the first time I've really seen his witness out of school. We got there, he was drinking, girls were drinking. He had really no part in what we were doing there. We weren't paying attention to him. When he left, he screeched out, and girls were screaming. They had bottles, probably showing off, and he was doing donuts, or peeling out, making and then you hear a bunch of screeching, you hear a loud crash, and you hear silence after that, and everyone look over there, and you see his car stopped with the brake lights, and there was a trash can in the middle with the trash everywhere, and he didn't do anything, stop or confront any of us, look back or anything. He stopped, and we were going to wait for him to get out the car. It was about 15 seconds, but it felt long, and he just drove away. And we didn't hear of anything, Stephen Tibbs' name into it, until that happened about a Friday, I would say, because it was dance, until I think Monday or Tuesday at school, him trying to blame Stephen Tibbs, and Stephen doesn't even go to bar. I think that's why.
A note for yourself, Your Honor. Mike contacted my father at my house and told him, he said that I threw a trash can at his car. My dad said, if I committed a crime, then file a police report. A police report was never filed in this case.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Cleary says former schoolmate Steve Tibbs threw a trash can at his car.
Mr. Cleary, I have two witnesses on each side, and all of you look as if you're telling me the complete truth, right?
Right.
So all I can do is look at the photographs that you provided and try to find something that's consistent with either story. Now, both you and your witness say that he was standing not far from your car, correct?
Right.
He picked up the trash can over his head, and he's a tall young man, and he threw it at your car. Well, if he picked up the trash can and threw it at your car, you would have damage to the top part of your car. Or even if it landed on the side of your car, most of the damage would be on the top part. What you've shown me here is mostly damage that starts at the underside of the car. And that would be quite a trick. If the trash can was over his head and in a downward motion he threw the trash can and it landed on your car, the damage here is inconsistent with that. It's more consistent with either he may have thrown the trash can and it may have collided at the same time he threw it with your car and sort of bounced up and hit the top of the, the top of where the wheel is. That's why I asked your witness whether the trash can hit the floor first and then the car. He said, no, it hit the car first, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I cannot be satisfied based upon the statements of the witnesses and these photographs that you've established your case, Mr. Cleary. Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes. If you look, there's damage to the tire because it goes like this, right? And it was bent down. It hit the base of it, where it protects the wheel, and that's why it's bent down like that.
It hit the base of the wheel, but that is also consistent, Mr. Cleary, with the defendant's statement that you were doing figure eights around the parking lot and hit the trash can. It's also consistent with that.
If I was spinning donuts, my whole car would hit the trash can, and it would have been a bigger dent.
I don't know that at all, sir. I know that there's a lot of damage right on the lip.
Because that's where the trash can hit the lip.
I know, you were inside. I can't make a judgment, certainly, sir, even by a preponderance of the evidence that he's responsible for this. Where are all the girls who were there? All the girls who were shouting, no Tibbs, no. Where are all the girls?
Their parents didn't allow them to come.
This may be one of those cases that is never going to be solved, but based upon the evidence that I've heard today, I cannot conclude by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Tibbs is responsible for this. Mr. Tibbs, only you know whether or not you did it, right?
That's correct, I didn't.
You didn't. Bye.
Advise I excuse, you may step out.
He was mad because the girls weren't going to his party like he wanted them to.
He doesn't like me at all.
He was drinking a little bit, and he just had a bad attitude about it.
He hit the trash can, sliding into it.
My car don't have enough power to showboat. I got a 4-cylinder piece of crap car.
He wants someone else to pay for his mistakes. That's what it comes down to.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Long versus Merovitz, step forward, please.
31-year-old business owner Tom Long is suing his ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old salesman Dan Merovitz, for unpaid credit card charges and a trip to Europe.
According to your complaint, you and the defendant met on the internet sometime last year, is that right?
Yes.
And began a relationship that lasted for how long?
About 8 months.
Did you live together during that period?
Most of it, yes.
It is your claim that during the time that you lived together, you made certain loans to the defendant. Loans that were made by virtue of your credit card,
Yes.
some cellular phone expenses, and the cost of his share of a trip to Europe that you took together, that you
Yes.
claim that he promised to pay you for, but never did.
Correct.
The defendant says that all of these expenses were gifts. While he acknowledges the expenses, that he made certain charges, he said that they were all gifts from you made during the course of a relationship. So that's where we're at. When did you and the defendant begin living together?
May of last year.
When did you give him access to your credit card?
Maybe 2 months after that, he was getting a promotion and he needed it to keep his job.
What do you mean he needed it to keep his job?
With his promotion, he had more responsibility. He had to entertain, he had to travel, and without that, he probably wouldn't have been able to keep his job.
Did you get him his own credit card, or did you give him yours?
It was basically a partner card off of my account with his name.
So far, is it correct that you had a partner card of the plaintiffs starting in about July of 2000?
Yeah.
Now, when you got the bill, let's say in September, and you were still together in September of 2000, who paid his portion of the bill?
As Dan would get company funds back to him on his expense checks, he would either write a check out to me or just reimburse me in one way or another with money.
Is that correct?
For the most part, yeah.
What about October? Do the same thing?
As he would be paid by his company, he would pay me back.
So far, is that correct, sir?
Voluntarily, yeah.
I love it. You would pay him back.
Right.
Now, you separated, according to this, sometime in November?
That sounds correct, yes.
At the time you separated, what was the balance on his card?
At that time, it was probably around...
Don't give me a probably around. Courts don't deal with probably around. Where's the paperwork? Don't give me a whole lot of paperwork to look through. Make it easy for me.
It's a quarterly expense report. It has everything.
Just make a little check mark with regard to where his expenses were on his card.
Every single one. It's just his side of it. It's not mine or not included.
I thought I was going to get him to do this for me. Did you do a lot of traveling for your business, sir? Stayed at the Radisson in Sarasota. Good deal? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. There is no question in my mind, based upon my examination of the defendant, that he treated this money as a loan. Despite the fact that he claims in his answer that it was a gift, he treated it as a loan because, according to him, he made payments. He made payments in September. He made payments in October. Isn't that what you just said to me? Well, even though you said voluntarily.
Right. But none of it was an agreement throughout the month.
Listen to me. Baloney. If you made payments, that is indicia that you treated your credit card as a second holder for your company expenses. Many of these, the most substantial of these, are company expenses. You treated them as a loan because you paid him back. There came a time when you stopped paying on the credit card. On what day did you stop paying on the credit card, sir?
I think when I left, when we split.
Why?
Tom gave these things to me. I voluntarily gave him the checks on a month-to-month basis.
All right, let me ask you this question, Mr. Meyerowitz.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you honestly believe that Mr. Long, had you not paid him back as you got these checks for reimbursement from your company, would have continued to allow you to use the credit card?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. There were many
Well, why
threats
would you
throughout the whole
think,
time.
Mr. Meyerowitz,
Mm-hmm.
not only were you getting substantial monies back from your company, you expect him to pay the bill and you get reimbursed and you put the money in your pocket so that you get extra money. Is that what you're telling me? And that the money that he advanced you on his credit card, sort of like additional salary to you.
Right.
Is that what you're claiming? Is that what you're claiming? I just want to know your position. That he was giving you this money and he was saying to you, you can keep the checks that you get from the company to cover your cell phone and your hotels and your meals and your client entertaining. You keep that because I want you to have that extra money. That's what your position is.
Right. I'm not.
Oh, I'm getting too old for this. Wrong. All right, now let's deal with the trip to Europe. Let me hear about the trip to Europe.
Well, I had a lot of Sky Miles points, and I had told Dan if he paid $500 worth of the entire trip, I would pay for everything else. And he paid about $100.
When did he pay the $100 towards the trip?
Probably on his own credit card when he was paying for a dinner or something.
You mean on your credit card?
No, actually on his own this time.
Oh, it's hard to use your own when you have somebody else's.
I didn't even have my own.
Whatever. But what expenses did you actually incur for him in Europe? You used your points to get there.
I have that right here for you.
These aren't $500 worth of expenses.
There was also cash involved.
I mean, we're talking about a couple of meals, $31, $7.47,
plane
$9.99.
Well, it doesn't cost $500 to fly to Europe. It costs considerably more.
You used your points.
But I had to pay for some of it also.
Where is
I
that?
only had so many points.
Where? Show me where.
I don't have that right now.
Well,
It
now
was
is the time
very-
to have it. We don't have it later. Later is no good. We can't do approximates, okay? So I am deducting that from your total claim, leaving a balance of $2,439.
Actually, I have checks which are on a canceled account, and I also have...
So what does that have to do with anything? I am awarding you everything except the travel expenses. So what difference does it make if you've got canceled checks? I do not believe, Mr. Meyerowitz,
Because it actually
that this
cost
was
me $2,800 and whatever the $330, or it cost me that amount of money.
I've just looked at this. This doesn't come to $400. And even if it did come to $400, the expenses for going out to eat, et cetera, have to be cut in half. Because you ate too, I assume. You didn't say,
Correct.
you go eat and I'm going to go eat. Don't
That was
push your
really
luck,
a
Mr.
cheap
Long.
trip to Europe.
He is responsible for all of his expenses that he made on the credit card. I find that they were not gifts. I find that his payments were not voluntary. I find that he agreed to pay you for those, and that he did, in fact, pay you for some until the relationship terminated. So I am awarding you that part of your claim, which is $2,439. I am not awarding you the money for the trip. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 441 on the calendar in the matter of Hoffman versus Hoffman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Hoffman, the defendant is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've tried to understand your complaint as well as your mother's countersuit. You claim that you sold to your mother certain restaurant equipment, a freezer and some other equipment, and that she owes you money on that equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother says she's not only paid for that equipment, the freezer doesn't work, and not only doesn't she owe you any money, but you actually owe her money.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What was this equipment? Where did it come from? Why would you sell it?
Actually, I owned a restaurant in Salisbury, Maryland. Was getting out of the restaurant business. I had been working 16, 18 hours a day. It was just too much. I was losing my marriage, my two small children. Had called a restaurant equipment place, set up arrangements for them to come and buy all the equipment from me. My mother steps in and says, let me buy the equipment from you. I may want to give it a go. I mean, you've worked so hard putting this business together from the ground up. We'd hate to see, you know, the family lose this.
What kind of a restaurant was it?
It was a carry-out sub pizza and deli type restaurant.
Okay. Were you making any money?
A little bit of money, not a lot. It wasn't worth all the time we had to put in. Put out a lot of bills, put out over $30,000 for the equipment.
Okay. Did she give you any money?
She gave me $4,000, signed a bill of sale for a list of equipment, which I have here.
I'd like to see it, please.
That's also a copy of the bill of sale.
So she purchased, according to you, all of this equipment for $8,000. According to this, she gave you a deposit of $5,000.
That was correct. I only actually received $4,000 cash, Your Honor. $1,000 I gave to her to help her with startup costs.
This contract of sale says $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
With a balance due and owing of $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what it says. And then it says that you additionally sold her a freezer for $3,000. Did she pay you anything towards the freezer?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Mrs. Hoffman, let me hear from you.
Hey, Your Honor. This started out, Joe told part of the truth. This started out, my son had 3 businesses in Salisbury, Maryland. He was losing his family and his businesses because of a crack cocaine addiction. I stepped in, being his mother, trying to help him save at least this one business. He reneged on his lease, was locked out of the building. He could not get to his equipment. I paid the money for Joe to get into the building, the $1,000. That's the $1,000 that Joe was talking about. I didn't want this business. I quit my day job 2 years ago to enjoy my farm and my horses, Your Honor. I was trying to help my son. I wanted my son to seek counseling for his drug addiction. He's lost everything.
All right, so you agreed to go into his business to save the business.
Yes, ma'am. Hopefully that he would get it back.
Okay. Did you sign a contract with him with regard to the equipment?
I signed this. Joe told me the same thing that he gave you. I have the notarized copy and the serial numbers.
Okay.
To the $1,000 a month because I thought, he showed me his books, he was making $90,000 in 6 months' time, that I would be able to pay back this at $1,000 increments. I have registered tapes to prove documentation that I only make some days only $50 a day.
Mrs. Hoffman, that's not his problem. That's something, if you're going into a business, you're supposed to check the books very carefully.
I trusted my son, Your Honor.
Well, that's a problem. How can you trust your son if you say he's got a serious drug problem?
I know.
And clearly you were dealing at arm's length with him with regard to this transaction because you drew up a contract, you drew up serial numbers for all the items. This was not a, I'm going to help you out, I trust you. This is business here. Let me see your books. He showed you his books.
Showed me his book.
Showed you his book. And according to his book, he made a lot more than certainly you were making.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an accountant go over the books?
No, ma'am.
Did you have somebody come and sit in the restaurant every day for about a week to see what kind of traffic there was?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, that's what you do if you buy a
foolish.
restaurant. That's what you do if you buy a restaurant. How much money do you still owe him on the equipment?
The freezer wasn't due a payment until March.
Of 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so you don't owe him anything really on the freezer because the payments aren't due yet. Is that right, sir?
That's not correct, ma'am. She defaulted on the rest of the loan. I was due a payment December 30th, as per the signed notarized agreement of $1,000. The freezer was, I lent to my mother.
No, sir. This says she was to pay you in increments of $1,000 until paid. That's for the freezer. Starting March 30th, 2002, until May 30th, 2002, a total of 3 payments. So
Yes,
she
Your
doesn't
Honor.
owe you any money yet on the freezer.
And it was verbally between myself and my mother that I would allow her to pay the freezer after she paid me for the rest of the agreement.
Doesn't say that here, sir.
That was verbal when she drew the contract up.
Let me
Your Honor.
explain something to you, sir. When you have a contract, anything outside the contract that's verbal, courts don't consider. Courts say, forget it, so strike the freezer. She's got a little bit of time before she has to pay that first $1,000 payment. Now, what else do you owe him?
The refrigerator is leased. The leasing company has contacted me. Joe owes money on that. And I found out yesterday morning that they're coming to pick up the refrigerator unless I can pay him for it. And the signs on the building, I've had to pick up that bill because Joe told me that the signs were paid for, and I've had to pay that. And I
Wow.
feel I don't owe him any money because everything I've had to pay out, that was his bills.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph Hoffman says his mother, Doris Hoffman, owes for the cost of restaurant equipment. Doris says Joseph is a crack addict, and buying the equipment was an attempt to save his business.
Go ahead.
My mother knew that there was 2 leased items. One was a refrigerator, one was an ice machine. She knew exactly how much the leases were. We sat down at the kitchen table and figured out how much the bills would be for the leases. She knew there was $300 owed on one side, $300 owed on the other side.
How long had you had this business, sir?
I had the business for just about a year, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me something about your counterclaim, Mrs. Hoffman.
Your Honor, I don't feel I owe Joe the money. I feel...
Owing, I'll take care of in a minute. You have a counterclaim for $4,900.
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
It's for bills and that I've had to pick up and pay his because they were going to take the signs off the building. A microwave that he had a piece of aluminum foil in for the fuse to keep the microwave running. It's for 2 car top signs that he sold me. And yes, Your Honor, I did know he owed $350 on one, but I did not know about the 2 exterior signs that the man was there to take down off the building the day I opened my door.
That you should have known. Mrs. Hoffman, it's always a problem when you're in business with family.
Make sure you get everything in writing.
No, you're supposed to know. If you're going into a business venture, you're supposed to exercise due diligence. If you looked into all of his books, you would have had to have seen payments that he was making to a sign company, right? You would have had to have seen payments that he's making for equipment. And then you say, what is this for? All right, let me see the contract. How much was it originally? How much is owing on it? And then you make a judgment. And you can't say, well, I trusted him, he's my son. This is a business venture. Your mother doesn't owe you for the freezer yet. Now, with regard to the other payments, those were supposed to be completed for the remainder of the equipment by next month.
Yes, ma'am. She's on a payment plan. She's already missed December's payment, and January's payment is coming up.
Well, it says for 3 months starting in December. Did she pay you December's payment?
No, ma'am.
And that was for $1,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And then January's payment, she didn't pay you?
No, ma'am.
But that's not due yet?
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
So far, she only owes you $1,000.
That's correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It hurt very much to have to bring my own mother to court, and I hope that she can finish paying me the money she owes me so we can get our families back together.
A lot of things didn't come out that should have came out, and my son does have a drug addiction problem.
And now the next case.
All parties on Shaw versus Jones. Step forward, please.
50-year-old Bonnie Shaw is suing her former friend, 42-year-old bartender Sherry Jones, for the value of items she sold at a garage sale. Bonnie says Sherry pocketed the money.
Miss Shaw, you and the defendant were friends, is that right?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you gave her some things to sell at a garage sale.
Yeah.
These were things that you originally had at a garage sale that you had at your house.
Correct.
That you were unable to sell.
Correct.
It is your claim that she either kept the stuff or sold it and kept the money, and you want the value of the property that you gave to her to sell.
It was garage sale items and other items that she had borrowed, and I brought her son with me, her abandoned son, who can testify that to the quantity of items.
When did you have your garage sale?
In September and the beginning of October.
Over how many days?
5, 6.
And where did you get this stuff from?
It was 5 generations worth of items, plus relatives and neighbors gave me things. It was massive amounts, Your Honor. Furniture, some antiques, bedding books, clothing for every age, sexes, sizes, dishes, household items, thousands of items.
Explain to me how the property came to be in Miss Jones's possession.
When the sale was over, she told me to rent a U-Haul. She would bring it to her house. She had a great location. She said that she could sell sand to the Arabs and snow to the Eskimos, and that she's had several yards that way.
Shh, don't speak. You'll have a chance. Go ahead.
So I, upon her insistence, rented a U-Haul truck and drove it to her house. Her son was there, helped unload it. She ran the sale at her place. When I asked about money, it was one excuse after another. At that time, I did not realize that she was planning on disappearing from town again. A few things were returned.
What did she return?
A few books. I had well over 1,000 books. She returned some. Your Honor, this is a little more complicated than just yard sale stuff. I mean, This lady has the habit of ripping everybody off. She disappears, she leaves town, she abandons her child.
Miss Shaw, that may be interesting. This is a court.
Understood.
You have to prove a case. Did you make an itemized list of everything that you gave to her in the U-Haul?
I have a generalized list. It would be
I'm not
impossible to
interested.
itemize all the thousands of items, Your Honor.
Well, then how in the world am I going to make a decision? Generalized list is no good. You check off from the list. I mean, that's business. I assume you were in this to make money, right? And to unload a lot of junk from your house.
It wasn't junk, Your Honor.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff in there that, madam, listen to me. I know why people have garage sales. I've had those. Put a lot of stuff out and you hope that somebody wants to buy you a 15-year-old sled or children's ice skates or some picture that you can't look at in your house that's, you know, that's there. Sometimes an old frame that has a broken glass. I know what goes out in garage sales. This is not an estate sale, but you have to have a list. Here, you say you want the return of value of personal property, and you say it's worth $1,625. Well, that's a very specific amount. And how do you come up with that specific amount if you have no specific list?
The letter I wrote to her has specific items in it.
Well, let's see. Let me take a look at the specific items.
That's the letter she totally ignored. I advised her that I would take her to small claims court unless she returned the items or the value thereof.
Mostly you talk about in this letter about things she borrowed from you, not about the things that she allegedly took for the garage sale. You sold well over $582 worth of goods, yet I was only reimbursed $82. Then you go on to talk about a shelving unit that you loaned to her, a blue shelving unit. When did you loan her a blue shelving unit?
Before the sale. She wanted to have it to set things up on it. And it was reiterated repeatedly that that was not for sale. I wanted it back.
So where is that?
Your Honor, I have no idea. I left some things in the garage when I left. There was like a shelving, there was an old broken door, a broken window. Furthermore, when she says thousands of items, there was a lot of them she left at her house that didn't even bring over to my house. When the stuff was returned, half the time she was sleeping.
How many times did you return some things to the house?
I made at least 12 carloads from my Monte Carlo.
Her son will attest to what was there. He knows that she was bragging one day of over $600 that she brought in from the sale. I did not receive this
That's
money.
A lie.
You want to step
That's
up?
That's a lie.
Just a minute.
I never took his $600 for no.
I'm talking
Just
about
a
my
minute.
600.
Shh. You're her son? Who do you live with?
I live with my stepfather and this lady here.
Had you been living with your mother?
I was until she decided to leave.
And then you moved in with the plaintiff.
Me and my stepfather moved in
So when she left, her husband moved in with the plaintiff.
after she left.
Shh, I don't want to hear from you.
He couldn't afford it anymore with just the two of us there, so she offered to help us out, and we've been living there.
Is your stepfather renting a room from her, or do they live together?
No, we rent upstairs there.
So the two of you sleep upstairs?
Yep.
Now, what do you know about this property?
I remember books and some clothes and stuff like that.
How many boxes of books do you remember?
No, not off the top of my head.
All right, let's get back to the things that you say she borrowed. A fancy lace black slip top.
The borrowing that top was for an anniversary party, and the dress that's mentioned is also in this photo.
Did you borrow dresses from her?
No, I didn't, Your Honor. It's a black dress. She had it in her garage sale before her belongings left the garage sale. My daughter gave her $1.50, and she accepted it. As far as the black cami lacy thing, yes, I have that. I was told not to go near her house. I was told not to call there. How do I give it to her?
Borrowed slippers. What are the borrowed slippers?
Your Honor, I know this all sounds really trivial. And
It does sound trivial, madam.
I mentioned that in the letter to her, but what you have to understand is that I am not used to being ripped off like this, especially by a friend. This was all a con on her part to line her pockets. She'd been planning on leaving town for months, and nobody
Madam,
knew about it.
You say it sounds petty. It certainly does. My white hamper that belonged to my grandmother.
Yes.
Well, when did she borrow your white hamper?
In September, October.
What'd she borrow your white hamper for?
So one of the kids could have a place to throw their clothes.
One of her children?
Yes.
Then that's not borrowed.
It was on loan. She was going to
please.
get something else.
Oh, please. Come on. Come on. We're talking about nonsense here. Borrowed purple sheets. What would she borrow purple sheets for?
For her bedroom, she wanted to change the look.
And you're saying that they're borrowed?
Yes, ma'am. It was the whole set.
Just a second. I never had a friend that I said, "Here, you can use my sheets, borrow them, and then you can then give them back to me when you're finished." Miss Shaw, you're angry about something.
I am not angry, Your Honor.
And it may be that she ripped you off. That's very possible. But if you're in business, then what you do is you inventory. She gave you, you say $82. Well, according to this young man, according to your witness, the only thing that he recalls emptying out of the U-Haul were boxes of books and old clothes. And it's very possible that you gave her more stuff. But without a proper inventory, I cannot help you. No, that is not an inventory.
There was a stove, there was...
He doesn't remember unloading a stove.
He's probably as nervous as I am.
Well, you don't look nervous at all. And he's not nervous at all. If he had to take a stove out of a U-Haul, that would be something that you would remember, which he didn't tell me. Miss Shaw, whatever problems you have with this lady, I would suggest we get over them. And it's very possible she sold stuff at her garage sale that she had and didn't give you the money. The court can't help you unless you keep records.
I understand that. There was
Good.
just way too many items to mention, and her
Then
own
I
son can
can't-
attest to the money
if
that she
there-
bragged about getting.
If you can't itemize what they are because there are way too many items, I can't help you. Period. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh, excuse me, 1 second. I want you...
911 operator Sharon Kennedy is suing her ex-boyfriend, Michael Estapellin, for the cost of a cruise and for making unauthorized charges on her credit card.
It's number 148 on the calendar, the matter of Kennedy versus Estapellin. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Miss Kennedy, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were dating.
Yes.
And you claim that he owes you some money for a cruise that you took together and also for credit card charges that he made on your credit card.
Yes.
Mr. Estapellin says that you were just friends, that the cruise was your treat, and that it was very nice of you as a friend to allow him to charge things on your credit card, but there was never an agreement for him to pay you back. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
40 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a race car official and a mechanic.
Are you married?
And no longer.
You have children?
One.
Who does that child live with?
Her mother.
And who do you live with?
My father.
How long have you lived with your father?
6 months.
Do you pay him rent?
Yes.
How much rent do you pay him?
Not enough. About $100.
When did you meet Miss Kennedy?
When we were about 15 years old.
And did there come a time when you and Miss Kennedy started to have a relationship that was more than just friendly?
When we were 16.
More recently, sir, so that we can come into this millennium. You went on a cruise together.
Yes, we did.
And when was that cruise?
Early this year, January or February, I believe.
Had you been going out with her socially prior to that?
She had come to California from Arizona occasionally, and when she did, we would go out to dinner.
Just dinner?
Dinner and a movie?
Nothing more intimate than that?
No, ma'am.
When you went on the cruise, did you have one stateroom or two?
We had one.
Did you have one bed or two?
We had one.
And did you sleep on the floor or in the bed?
On the bed.
And what about Miss Kennedy?
On the bed.
How long was the cruise?
4 days.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you going on the cruise.
We had been talking one time. She came to California out to dinner. She was talking about vacations, that she had been wanting to take a vacation since she had been recently divorced. The next thing I had found out about the cruise was when she emailed me that she had booked a cruise, and she picked the dates around my racing schedule when I had an off weekend. So she had already planned it, booked it, and sent me the information.
No. In December, when I picked Michael up from being in jail for 30 days, we had discussed...
What was he in jail for?
Because he failed to finish his anger management classes from a domestic violence issue on his wife.
That should have been your first clue.
I know. I know.
Go ahead.
So when he got out of jail, we went to the motel, and we discussed going on vacation. And I said, okay, I'll do some research on it. And when I met him again 2 weeks later when I went to California, I brought him all the information, and he agreed to pay half of the cruise. We booked the cruise for January 17th.
When was he supposed to pay for it?
After racing season started, which was the end of January.
And he never paid for it?
Correct.
When did you make him a card holder on your credit card?
After March, when we both told each other that we loved each other.
March?
Yes.
Some 2 months after he failed to pay you for the cruise?
Correct. But I had not asked him for the cruise money yet.
You just told me he was supposed to pay you for it when racing season started, which was a month later, and he didn't pay you.
Correct.
And if he didn't pay you, you should have had a clue that this wasn't somebody that you wanted to extend any further credit to.
Yes, ma'am.
So now I'm not interested in the cruise anymore.
Okay.
Now I'm interested in the credit card.
Okay. After Michael and I told each other that we loved each other on March 8th, he had been kicked out of his grandmother's house in February.
Why was he kicked out in February?
That I don't know the specifics. All I know is that she was very upset with him. It was some issue in the kitchen, that she had just cleaned the kitchen and he was not wanting to clean it up and got all over her, and it was not a pretty sight. So she told him he
Should
had
have
to
finished that anger management course.
Correct. So then in March he started living at a motel, and he told me that for racing he would start traveling. So we agreed to put him as an authorized user on my American Express card. He would only use it for necessary items such as gas and lodging. And within a 1-month period, he had gone to Shoe City numerous times, motherhood, maternity, and I sure as heck wasn't pregnant, Victoria's Secret. So he was obviously romancing another woman.
So what happened when you got the first bill?
When I found out, I went online and checked the amount that was being charged so far. And I called Michael on April 9th, and I asked him what happened. He told me that someone had broken into his motel room and stolen the numbers because he still had the card. So like a fool, I believed him. And I had American Express cancel out that first card, send him a second card. Same thing happened. Room was miraculously broken again, and more charges started happening. So by the time the third card got to him, American Express had suspended the account, and I wasn't even allowed to use it because the charges were up to $11,000. Michael told me, just dispute all the charges. And I told him, I can't dispute the charges if they're legitimate charges.
Well, she had told me that she was going to give me a card to help me on the road, and that's what I had used it for. And yes, I had charged it, and yes, I did go to Victoria's Secrets, because by that time I had met somebody else who I did like, and was planning
we were still having sex.
planning to have a future with. I had told her that the whole time that we were, friends, and that we were always just friends.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get back to the credit card, sir. So what you're telling me is that when she questioned you about these charges, you told her that somebody had used the card in an unauthorized fashion initially.
No, ma'am. What I said is that she
Look
told
at me.
Yes, she told me.
No, here.
I am here. She told me that there's numerous charges on him, and she says, "Well, how could there be that many charges?" I said, "I have no idea. Maybe the only way is if somebody got the numbers from my card. That'd be the only other way that could happen."
You're a dishonest man.
I don't believe so, ma'am.
You are a thoroughly and totally dishonest man. Because if you had said to Miss Kennedy the first time around, you got me. I charged things because I originally said I was just going to charge things on the road, which is what you told me.
Eventually.
I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
You said I'm going to charge things on the road, motel, meals, that sort of thing. And then you chose, because you met somebody else, to charge things on the credit card that she questioned. And you knew that if you said to her, I met somebody else, and yes, I did charge some things for that other person, she would have canceled the card. You chose not to do that. And after you got the second card, you did the same thing. You charged things for your new girlfriend. So when I say to you that you are a dishonest person, I know from whence I speak. You are a dishonest and dishonorable person.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a hustler.
And later today.
Sir, I wouldn't use her mural.
I did not use her mural.
Just a second. You did.
No, ma'am.
But, Ms. Diaz, don't bother me. I think you ought to find a different line of work, by the way.
Warren Kennedy says her ex-boyfriend, Michael Estepellin, made unauthorized charges on her credit card. Sharon claims Michael lied about the card getting stolen.
What were the costs that he put on your credit card?
The charges that I did not dispute in a 30-day period was $3,675.84.
Can I
have a copy of the cell phone bill that we also went on the family plan with?
Shh, I don't care about the cell phone. He's a hustler.
Yes.
Judge him for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She seems to think I'm a dishonest hustler. That's fine. That's her opinion.
Michael was in jail again in May, and I called his cell phone, and his girlfriend answered.
She finally got it through her head that we were going to be nothing but just friends.
I was totally shocked. I could not believe how much of a charmer he was and how good a liar he really was.
Now she's just she's a scorned woman who didn't get away.
The money is just secondary to what Michael and I had.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Diaz versus Altunia. Step forward, please.
Artist Mariana Diaz is suing former client, restaurant manager Robert Altunian, for the cost of a painted mural. Mariana says Robert never paid for her work.
Ms. Diaz, you claim that the defendant owes you for a mural that you painted for his restaurant. And Mr. Altunia says that he didn't like the result, so he's not paying for it.
Right.
When did you hire Ms. Diaz?
Exact date, I don't really remember.
Month.
Because maybe November or October.
When did he hire you?
On November 5th.
And what was your agreement with her, Mr. Altunia?
Actually, I was trying to find a mural person.
Listen to me.
Was my
I had a
agreement with her? $3,000.
Okay, you were going to pay her $3,000
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
mural. And how long did she work on the mural?
Almost 6 weeks.
And you didn't like the result?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of the mural that you completed?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. How did you find her, by the way, Mr. Altunia?
I put the words around that I need a mural, and she knew one of my secretaries. It was a friend of hers or something, and when I asked her, she said, I'll do it.
And you agreed on a $3,000 price?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see what you've put in there in place of this, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I actually run it. I have a couple of samples that...
I don't want to see a sample.
No.
I want to see what you did over her work.
Here. And the top one, too. And the back. That's it.
This is what is over the mural that she
That's,
painted.
yes.
You sure?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Oh, I see what you did. You used part of her mural in the center, which is what you showed me. You used this part, and you had someone else paint pictures of women, dancers, around it.
Yes, ma'am, it's true.
Okay, good. Well, it's certainly, I will tell you, Miss Diaz, have you seen it? I'm going to show it to you. It certainly is lovely what he did. He added to your piece. Just show that to Miss Diaz. Okay.
I know the artist that did this. He's awesome guy.
Yes,
awesome.
he's wonderful. He used your center.
Right.
And then he painted beautiful women dancers around the back, and he is awesome.
It is awesome.
He is awesome. Let me have it back.
I met him while I was working on this because...
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
That as far as artists go, Miss Diaz...
He's amazing.
He's terrific. But Mr. Altunia, you see, this is your problem, sir.
Okay.
How long have you been in the restaurant business?
32 years.
Let's say Officer Byrd and I decide to take our families to your restaurant.
Sure.
We come together. How many are in your family?
6.
All together. You know,
Altogether,
children.
6. Yeah.
My basic family is 22. Children, their spouses, and grandchildren.
Sure.
So between the two of us now, we're 28 people. And we come to your restaurant. What kind of food do you serve, sir?
I have 8 kind of different restaurants that I represent.
This one?
I do not. This one is French restaurant. It's a cabaret, madame.
Good. So we come to your cabaret, and we eat, and we drink, and at the end of the meal, I say to him, you know what? I didn't like the food. I had better French food across the street.
All right.
So, Mr. Altunia, we're not paying the bill because we didn't like your food. We ate it. We used it. But it was better food across the street. Would your first phone call be to the police and say, these people are trying to scam me out of a $5,000 bill?
No,
They came, they ate my food, they drink my wine, and when I present them with a bill, they say, you know, we had better French food. What?
Before I forget, can I give you the answer?
Sure.
I would invite you again for free next meal.
Well, the next time, sir, that she paints a mural for you, maybe she'll do it for free. This time, you got to pay for it.
My personal knowledge is
What?
good. Your Honor, that's good.
Sir, I wouldn't use her mural. Listen to me.
I did not use her mural.
Just a second. You did.
No, ma'am.
You used her mural because
No,
I'm
ma'am.
looking at the...
All right.
I'm looking at the work that
All
your
right.
artist did, and your artist used right in the center a little piece of her work. Whether you chose to use her work or not, that's not what's relevant, sir. If you made an... Ms. Diaz, don't bother me. I think you ought to find a different line of work, by the way. But what I'm telling you is, she spent 6 weeks there. The fact that she is a person of marginal talent is not her fault. She really wanted to do a good job. This is the best job she could do. She didn't necessarily try to hurt you. And all during the work process, because I read the papers, you kept giving her money for supplies. Instead of looking at it and saying, listen, my 6-year-old grandchild could do this job.
I did the same thing, Your Honor.
Oh, just a second.
Okay, I'm
Instead of doing that, you continued to give us supplies because she says, I could do better, I could do better. And I would have said, listen, let's stop right here. I see after 2 weeks this is not working out. I'm going to give you $1,000. I'm going to hire somebody else. But you, Mr. Altunia, said to her, fine. Here's the money. Go continue to work. It's not the right thing to do, sir. You made a mistake.
Can I answer it again, Your Honor?
Sure.
All right. When somebody starts, you know, she's a nice girl. When somebody starts, and a friend of my secretary too, she was very nice, and she's very kind. Believe me, she did her best. I seen her go from books to bookstores. I seen her bring in so many pictures. I seen her sleep there sometime. I was wrong by hiring for such cheap price and expecting the most.
Mr. Altunia.
Yeah.
That's where you're mistaken.
That's right. I think
That's
she
your
was
mistake.
expensive.
You've been in business 33 years.
that's
You get
right.
what you
That's
pay
very
for.
true, Your Honor.
And the artist who ultimately did this, clearly, if they
Your Honor,
charge
please do me a favor. I gotta tell you this. I want to show it to you
I want to
what
also
she did.
express some things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go.
First of all, I mean, I'm not going to discuss art, and here is just my time that I put into that thing.
Does it sound as if you're not going to win this case?
No, and also, I mean, just defending a little bit my art, this thing we agreed before I started that I was going to do over the stage, because that was the stage.
Your Honor, excuse me.
And I did it in God leave. So,
Miss
I mean, I
Diaz,
don't-
Miss Diaz, listen to me, sweetheart.
Right.
He's got to pay you the $3,000. Put it down. He's got to pay you the $3,000 because that was your
Your Honor,
agreement.
one more second, please.
Yes.
I told her to put a Moulin Rouge.
Yeah,
Moulin Rouge is a very
it's a
famous
windmill.
restaurant. Moulin Rouge is a beautiful place in Paris. I met better over here. I had a lot of money available to give anything she wanted. I have $1 million location.
Listen to me.
I have now picture. I told her to make one Moulin, the windmill. That's how she finished it. And I had to work in the top of Moulin Rouge.
No.
Please look at it.
I did the Moulin
Look what
since
she
the
did.
beginning. It was
Yeah, I wanted the Moulin.
amazing. It's amazing. And
You're going to win
okay.
anyway. Please don't. You won already. What are you fighting for?
Mr. Altunia, what I'm telling you is you're a businessman. You've been a businessman for 33 years, according to you, in the restaurant business. You made an agreement with her. Your agreement was she's going to paint, do the best job she could for $3,000.
Right.
The fact that you thought you were getting something for nothing,
That's right.
that's your problem. See,
I
then
guess
you had
it
to
was.
hire somebody to come in and finish the job. And I want to tell you something. The person that you hired is a person that has a tremendous amount of talent. But that's your problem.
It's
She
true.
worked for 6 weeks. You got to pay a judge for the plaintiff.
Your
And
Honor-
that's a
Hold on, wait,
$3,000.
wait,
Thank
don't
you.
give nothing.
Goodbye.
Parties are
Bye.
excused. You
Luck.
may step out.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 108 on the...
It's your cousin. She here?
No, she's not.
According to what I read, your cousin's husband, Mr. Morales, vandalized your car by kicking it, causing dents in the car. He says he didn't do it. So I have a few questions, and I'm going to start out with him, because I was interested in your answer, Mr. Morales.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you and your wife been married?
About 3 years, going on 4 years.
And according to your answer, sir, your wife and Diana were good friends. Aside from being cousins, they were friends.
Yes.
And your wife called you one day and said that she wanted to go out to speak to Diana, just to have a girls' night out.
She didn't say to go out. She said she wanted to go to dinner. Apparently something was going
Well,
on.
that's dinner. That's going out.
Okay, well, it turned out to be some other...
No, but that she told you she wanted to go out for dinner.
Yes.
You have children?
Yes, we do.
How many children do you have?
We have 4.
4 children in 3 years. How did that happen?
We have 2 together, and we each brought daughters into the marriage.
So your wife said she would like to have dinner with her cousin Diana.
Yes.
And you said okay.
Yes.
Well, what did you say?
I said dinner would be fine.
You didn't give your wife any specific instructions, though.
No instructions other than I made it clear that I didn't expect her to turn it into a drinking evening. They're very good friends, they're close. I didn't have any problem with that. She hadn't had time to herself, so...
Do you ever go out, Mr. Morales?
No.
Never go out and socialize?
No.
Tell me what happened next, sir.
Once I got home and she was getting ready to go out.
What time was that?
That was 6, maybe 6:30.
Okay.
And her cousin came, picked her up, and then they left. Maybe about 15 minutes after they left, my wife called on the cell phone and told me that they weren't hungry, that they wanted to go and have a couple drinks. Didn't like the idea, but my wife hadn't had really
Well,
much...
what did you say to her?
I ended up telling her it was fine. I told her just I didn't want her out. I didn't expect her to be out late, and I didn't expect her to drink.
But they were going out to drink.
Not to drink and drive. I made
She
it,
wasn't driving. She picked her up.
If one was going to be drinking, I assumed they would both be drinking. So I told her, I made it clear to her that if they needed me to pick them up, that I would be available to pick them up.
Oh, so you said go and have a good time, but if you're both drinking, I'll be available to come pick you up. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And I made it clear that I didn't want it to be a late evening. I told her, if you're going to go, talk, have a good time, just I don't expect you to come home 11,
Late.
12 o'clock late.
You told her you didn't want him home after 11.
Yes.
How old is your wife?
She's 30.
Go ahead.
At 8:30, it was around 8:30, she called me, and at that time she was letting me know that she was having a good time, but they were wrapping it up and getting ready to head home. Okay, are you guys okay? She said yes, they were fine, everything was going well. So the location where she said they were going to be is maybe 15, 20 minutes. Maybe an hour later, I hadn't received any calls, so I tried calling the cell phone, and at that time the cell phone was off. Off or had no power. I probably tried the cell phone every 15 minutes or so after that, and 8:30 turned to 9:30, turned to 10:30, turned to about 11:30 is when I started getting concerned. I started to get the kids up and wanted to go and see if I can find her, so drove up to the area where they said they were going to be. Different path on the way home, thinking I might see them stranded.
Didn't see them.
Didn't see them. Kept trying the cell phone for...
Okay, you tried the cell phone. You didn't. What time did they finally come home?
They came home at about 2:30.
And what happened when they got home?
Well, they drove up. I was actually getting the kids ready to go out and look again when they drove up. I went out to the car. First thing was, what happened? Is everything okay? When I saw the condition that they were in, I turned to being very, very upset. Said some things I probably shouldn't have. Grabbed the door, opened it, took my wife out of the car. The seatbelt was still on, so I had to reach in and undo the seatbelt for her. She had trouble even standing, getting out of the car.
She managed to get into the car.
Yes.
And put a seatbelt on.
Yes.
Okay, now Miss Rodriguez, coming back to you. You're out for the evening.
Right.
Where'd you go?
We went to a bar that they served. It was actually a wine and beer bar. They served appetizers. We did have appetizers and drinks.
Okay, what time did you get home?
We probably got to their house around 1:30.
Were you having a good time?
Yes, we did, actually. We had a really good time. It was actually our first night out alone since the time they got married, because she is not allowed to go out alone.
What do you mean she's not allowed to go out alone?
It always has to be in a group setting, or he has to be there.
Had you socialized before she got married?
Yes, we were, besides being cousins, we were really good friends. We always went out before they got married. Once they got married, that stopped.
Did Mrs. Morales turn her phone off?
You know, I'm not sure if she did, but I know she did receive a call from him several times.
Did she take the calls?
Once, when we were about 5 minutes away from their house. She did answer the phone. It was him, and I can tell at that point that something was wrong because she looked frightened and the way she was speaking was not, I mean, I can tell something was
Did you
wrong.
speak to your wife before she got home?
No. The phone was off up until she got home, and I showed her that the phone was off once she got inside, and I actually was angry and broke the phone because it was off.
How did you break the phone?
I threw it.
Where were your children?
They were in the bedroom.
Up or sleeping?
Up.
So what happened when you came home?
As we were driving down the street where they live on, I can see him coming out. He must have been looking in the window, or I don't know, because I can see him pulling towards the street.
What are you pulling towards the street? He was in his car?
I mean, walking towards the street.
Okay.
And I was driving in, and he opened the door just like he said. He pulled her out. He yelled at her first and said, "Are you crazy? You're married." Then turned to me and said, you ruined us. And was yelling, and he was out of control, very angry. I didn't say anything. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was frightened. And he kicked my car twice within maybe a 2-minute gap.
You have pictures of the damage to the car?
I do. As a matter of fact, my car was 3 weeks old when he did this, so I was very upset. Brand new car.
Yes, sir.
When I got my wife out of the car, I expected this whole thing to be about maybe something resulting from slamming the car door. I did not stand there and kick anything. The whole process of taking her out of the car, I did say things that I shouldn't have said, but I did not kick the car. I slammed the extent of what I did to that car was slamming the car door. If I had damaged something, I was furious. I was furious.
Furious?
I was.
So furious, sir, that you couldn't control your temper inside your house, and you took the cell phone and you broke it inside the house with 3 children, at least 3 children, home and awake, according to you at 2:30 in the morning. According to her, it was 1:30. According to you, 2:30 in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
You couldn't control yourself sufficiently in front of your children. So you expect me to believe that she dented her own car? Why would she dent her own car, a 3-week-old car? Why do you think she would do that?
She lives in, I have no doubt in my mind, she lives in a apartment complex with underground parking. Yeah. I haven't seen the damage.
Oh, well, show it to him. Show it to him. This didn't come from another car, sir.
Oh, and
this didn't come from another car.
Can I say something? He's seen the damage because I mailed him pictures and a letter about 2 weeks after.
Have you spoken to your cousin since?
No. I called her the next day because I was concerned. I wanted to know. I left her a message on her cell phone. I just wanted to...
She hasn't called you back?
No, I don't know if she's avoiding that, but he denies her every time someone calls.
Mr. Morales, it's not my job to be a therapist, sir. And if you've got your wife so intimidated that she has a fear of maintaining contacts that she's had all of her life, like her cousin, that's very unfortunate. I certainly wouldn't let you do that to me. The fact that you have no interest in going out and socializing with friends is your business. If your wife, every once in a while, needs to get away from the pressures of a full-time job and taking care of 4 children, she's entitled to do that and blow off some steam every once in a while. Don't you think so, Mr. Morales?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the problem whether she's married or not? Where did you think she was at 1 o'clock in the morning? Did you think she was out sleeping with somebody else?
No, ma'am.
No.
But it's not a
she...
matter of the marriage. This was a matter of, all it takes is one mistake of drinking and driving, and it changes everything for my kids.
They got home fine, Mr. Morales.
They had been drinking.
They got home fine. Then you wait until the next day, and you say to your wife, you know, it was dangerous last night. You know, you were drinking, Diana was drinking. I told you I'd be more than happy to come pick you up. You really had me worried. That's not what happened, sir. Mr. Morales, what happened is you lost your temper.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
I had no problem paying for the loan, assuming that she would do what she could to help me out.
What you wanted her to do, sir, is to lower your child support payments.
Right.
So that you could pay for this hobby craft.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Rodriguez says her cousin's husband, Alex Morales, kicked a dent into the side of her car. Alex says Diana took his wife out for a night on the town and brought her home drunk.
How many times in the last 4 years has your wife been out for an evening alone without you?
Within 5 times. Not very often.
Not very often. With friends or off to an emergency room? It's a simple question. With friends?
Co-workers.
Co-workers?
Yes.
Out for an evening?
No.
4 or 5 times? For what?
No, after work, a dinner, banquets, things like that, but not to go out clubbing.
You think going out with her cousin is going out clubbing?
Yes.
She picked him. She may be happy with him.
And
if not, it's not your business. Can
and
I
I
see the
respect
estimate
that.
to fix your car, please? To take out your frustration on Miss Rodriguez's brand new car. In order to fix her car, it's going to cost $2,600. She probably has insurance to cover it. There's absolutely no reason for her to have to submit this to her insurance because of your hissy fit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,600. That's all.
All are excused. You may step out.
He just doesn't want to take responsibility for his actions.
It wasn't a controlling thing. It was her kind of knowing at what point would, I'd be set off.
I don't have a relationship with her.
As far as I'm concerned, if she wants to stay married to me, I wouldn't allow them to go out again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Davis versus Jimison. Step forward, please.
Call center supervisor Penny Davis is suing the father of her son, car rental manager Jerome Jimison, for a loan to buy a motorcycle. Jerome says Penny was supposed to use her child's support money to make payments.
Miss Davis, the defendant is your former boyfriend and the father of your children. How many children do you have with him?
We only have one.
When was the last time you lived together?
Over 5 years.
When did you make this loan for a motorcycle?
July of 2003.
Why?
Basically, he wanted to purchase a motorcycle, so he came to me and asked me if I would help him obtain a loan to purchase a motorcycle.
Why couldn't he get his own loan?
His credit wasn't good enough for that. So he did all the legwork, and basically I showed up and signed the papers, and he got a check for the purchase of the motorcycle.
Wasn't that a big mistake?
I would have to second-guess myself at this point and say yes, but at that point in time, I thought I was helping someone that I could trust.
So you thought you were helping out a friend, but then he stopped making payments on the loan.
Yes.
When did you stop making payments on the loan, sir?
Actually, my last payment was November of last year.
Why?
When I lost my job, about 3 months after we got the loan, I got another job making considerably less, and child support was not lowered.
So?
Penny and I actually had a conversation then in the summer of last year where she agreed that because I could not get that child support modified and lowered to then match the new calculation on my new salary, that she would then pay that amount.
No, I did not.
Just a second. She would pay what amount?
Any additional amount towards the loan because I could no longer afford it.
Why didn't you sell the motorcycle?
There's no way I would get anything close to what I paid for
You have the title to it?
Yeah.
Let me see it.
And I'll actually say on it that it is a rebuilt salvage.
So this motorcycle is how old?
1994 with some 95 parts on it, I think.
Now, you don't use this to get back and forth to work, is that right?
No.
It's a hobby.
To some degree.
And how much do you think you could get for it if you went to sell it?
$1,000 to $1,200.
And how much is left on the loan?
$3,744 and 61
$3,744
and 61 cents. That's
okay,
the
so
payoff amount.
Yes. That's the payoff amount.
Yes. I also asked Mr. Jimison to give me the title.
Yeah, well, he's going to do that today.
Judge Judy, if I can mention one thing. When we entered into this agreement...
Just a second.
Okay.
Before he mentions a thing, Bird, find the right place where he's supposed to sign off on this thing, because he's going to give the title to her so she can sell it.
Can I make a statement short of that?
Not short of it, after you sign it.
Transferor.
Perfect. Now you can give that to her. Now you can go pick it up.
Thank you.
And sell it. Now you wanted to say something to me, Mr. Jimison?
Yeah. We went in it with the understanding that she'd have my back and I'd have hers. I had no problem paying for the loan, assuming that she would do what she could to help me out.
What you wanted her to do, sir, is to lower your child support payments.
Right.
So that you could pay for this hobby craft. That's what you want. Listen to me. Listen to me, sir. If you said to me, Judge, I needed a way to get to work. And if I couldn't get to work, I couldn't pay child support. This is my mode of transportation. I'd have a little sympathy for you. That's not what you're saying to me. You're saying to me, this is a hobby. I have another car that I use for work.
I don't actually own a car.
I don't care how you get to work. I don't care if you get to work by subway or if you get to work by trolley.
Okay.
This is not your mode of transportation to work. So if you lost your job and you had to replace a job with a job where you were making less money, the answer isn't cutting your child support payments, sir. The answer is getting rid of your... I'm speaking. The answer is getting rid of your hobby. You don't say to her, take less money, agree to take less money so that I can make the payments, because that's what you said in your answer. I said to myself, I'm not getting this right.
Well, let me try
He wants to reduce his child support, and she said no. So let me read it here. Let me read it here so I got it. I should have it exactly. She agreed to make the payments out of the child support that I was giving her.
Out of the additional child support.
There's no additional child support, sir. There's no additional child support. You moved for a downward modification. Because
yes.
you moved for a downward modification.
Right.
The downward modification was denied.
Correct.
So there's no extra child support. She didn't get extra child support. You didn't like the computation with your new job. And your new job, according to the federal guidelines, probably said there's a low end and a high end. And they said to you, whatever it is, you're going to pay the high end.
Right.
Been there,
Okay.
done that. Now you have a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,544. Sell the motorcycle. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 198 on the calendar in the matter of Rose versus Mashoud. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Rose, you rented a room from the defendant, and according to your complaint, you were forced to move out early.
Yes.
You want prorated rent.
Yes.
You certainly want your security deposit back. And you want compensation for what you say were very nasty things that the defendant posted about you on the internet.
That's correct.
The defendant says that you chose to move out. You don't get compensated for choosing to leave before the end of the 30 days. That your cat did some damage to the rug, so you don't get your security back. And she acknowledges she wrote nasty things about you on the internet, but she said everything she wrote about you was the truth, and the truth is a perfect defense.
That's very true.
When did you move into this room, Ms. Rose?
On May 1st. On April 22nd, I answered an ad.
Do you recall what it said?
It said that I was going to be a roommate, that it was $400 for the rent, that she had 3 cats, and 1 more would be great. And
no, just a second. That's not what the ad said.
Yes, it did. It said she had 3 cats and 1 more would be great.
Oh, that's what the ad said?
Yes.
It must be a very long ad. Where was it?
Craigslist.com.
.org. .org. Correction. Tell me what happened when you went and looked in the house.
It was 11 o'clock at night. She said that it was dirty, but she would clean it, and that the hot water in the sink was broken, the pipe, but she would fix it before I moved in, and the toilet that I was renting out with the bathroom was broken as well, but that would be fixed as well.
How many rooms did you look at?
3 different rooms, and this is the one that I chose.
This is the one that had a broken sink, a broken toilet, and was filthy. Is the one that you chose, Miss Rose?
Actually, it was the rent. It was cheaper than normal. Others were asking for $650, so I figured I was only going to be here till the summer. It should not be an issue.
Was the toilet fixed?
No, the toilet was never fixed, and neither was the hot water, which I had to eat out because I couldn't wash dishes. There were maggots in the sink. There were roaches, flies.
Who else lived in the house?
It was supposed to be just myself and Sheena, and she brought her crackhead mother in, who has no teeth and has tattoos everywhere, who she failed to mention was an ex-convict who had been in jail for 12 years for a violent crime. Not only that, but...
Just a second. When you moved in May 1st, was her mother there?
No, her mother was not there.
When did her mother move in?
Her mother started coming by in the middle of May and started hanging out, bringing her other crackhead friends who had no teeth.
I'm a dentist's daughter. Let's not talk about the teeth. Let's talk about the drugs.
Okay.
What makes you think that she was using crack?
Because I came home the night before I moved out, and her friend were smoking crack in the living room.
That would give me a clue.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your mother incarcerated for, Miss Mashoud?
I believe it was theft, and she
Violated her parole several times.
She violated her parole because of her drug use?
No, it had to do with the fact that she wasn't seeing her probation officer like she was supposed to when she was released early.
Listen, if you're released early and you want to stay out of jail, unless you're involved with drugs, you usually see your probation officer.
Well, actually, the problem was that she moved back to Colorado without asking her probation officer, and she stayed out there for 3 years.
Well, that would be a problem.
Yes, obviously, as the rule was that she was supposed to keep in contact.
How long was she incarcerated?
I'm not sure. I never lived with my mom as a child, so.
When was she released from prison?
At least 5 years ago.
How come she started to come to your house?
Because I previously, before she had ever moved in, had paid my mom to come to my house to clean my apartment because I work 18-hour days. I have two different jobs. I work a bar job at night, and during the day I'm a special effects makeup artist. I work very hard, and I don't have time to spend, even if it is 4 hours that I get to sleep, to spend cleaning up my apartment.
You mean there's nobody else that could clean your apartment other than your mother?
Well, I don't trust anybody else to come into my apartment because I have many things that are worth a lot of money.
So what you're telling me is you trust your mother?
Yes, I do.
The mother who she says, and I believe her,
yes,
invited somebody into your home and they were smoking dope in your house.
Nobody else other than my mom was invited into my home.
Well, she did. Bring somebody else into your home.
I had never seen the person.
Well, I'm
and I don't
telling
know
you,
who
she
she's
did.
speaking of.
She did. So your judgment wasn't very good in choosing your mother. Listen to me. Your judgment wasn't very good in choosing your mother to clean your house.
I believe my judgment was just fine. Aside from the fact that she had been incarcerated before, it doesn't mean that she would do anything like that again.
Well,
It was a
but she
petty
brought
problem.
somebody.
I
Listen
love
to
my
me.
mother.
She brought somebody into your house, and they were smoking
There's
dope
no
in
proof
your
of that.
house.
Who is that?
I believe her.
I'm glad you believe her, but I don't know that that's true. I know that my mom has not been on drugs for many years. I know that she does have permanent psychosis because of doing drugs for many years, and that is true. But she is not a current drug user, otherwise I wouldn't bring her into my house because I wouldn't trust her around my stuff personally.
Ms. Michoud, that's your problem. You want to
Yes,
have
it is.
this unabiding faith in your mother, with whom you say you never resided when you were growing up,
That's
who was
true.
incarcerated most of that time. That's up to you. I absolutely, 100% believe her when she says that she came home the day before she moved out and your mother was in the house smoking dope, which, as far as I'm concerned, gives her the right to leave in the middle of the month.
Well,
I'm speaking. What day of the month did you move out?
It was the 18th.
So you want prorated rent for the 12 days that you weren't there?
That's correct.
Okay, and how much does that come to?
$146.50. My mother had not moved in at that point. She was a guest of mine.
Excuse me? Shh. Listen to me. She doesn't. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Michoud. She doesn't. Listen. Try to listen. I know you've got a lot going on in your hair and your face, everything else, but try to pay attention. She doesn't have to live in your house. You have invited a guest into your home, your mother, who was involved in behavior that I believe could have endangered someone else who was living in the house. If the police had come to your house and found your mother and someone else in possession of crack cocaine in your house, everyone in the house would have been involved in that drug sweep. So she was very smart to move out. And since you have acknowledged that you invited your mother into the house for the purposes of cleaning, you can't say she had no right to move. She did have a right to move. And since you invited this problem into your house, you have to compensate her for the 12 days in rent that she did not have use and enjoyment of her room.
Well,
that's my ruling. You may not like it. That's why
She failed
you
to
go
mention
to
that her boyfriend
that's
is a
why
speed addict,
I'm speaking.
and he's in
listen,
my and he
listen
was
to
staying
me.
in my house.
Listen to me very
For
carefully.
the whole time she was there.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. I don't know where else you work or what else you do to enhance your senses, but in my courtroom, I speak, I listen.
Obviously, you don't listen very well.
You don't. I'm listening. You're not hearing what I'm saying because you don't like the answer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not going to ask her how she's going to establish that you committed the kinds of sex acts that she attributes to you because it's really
to how she meets
unseemly.
random
Suffice,
men on
I'm
the internet.
speaking.
And later today,
Somebody standing there with an open door, primping, while I'm waiting to get into a parking space, would rile the hell out of me. I can't even tell you what it would do to my husband.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jenny Rose says ex-roommate Sheena Mashoud owes for the return of rent and a security deposit. Jenny also claims Sheena slandered her via the internet.
How much is your security?
$200. I have a copy of the sublease as well.
Can I see it, please?
And I have a copy of the letter she told me to vacate immediately.
Okay.
She wanted me to pay for her mother's rent for the next month.
Listen. Did you write this letter? There will be a $500 rent increase for your bedroom and private bathroom starting July 1st. Did you write this?
Yes, that's what
All right, good.
told me to do.
$146.50 and $200 for your security deposit. Do you have any pictures of the ruined rug that was allegedly caused by her cats?
No, but
Good. Now I would like to see what was written on the internet.
This is a networking site that my coworkers, my supervisors and boss, as well as my family and friends read. I was contacted by one of my coworkers.
Well, the one thing I do know for sure, Miss Mashoud, is that you have a filthy mouth.
Thank you.
And I assume that you work in this town?
Yes, I do.
Good. I certainly hope that enough people, since we do have a reasonable audience in this town, watch this and know that I personally am offended that a woman would use the kind of vulgarities that you do written. I don't think, quite frankly, Miss Rose, that any fair-minded, reasonable person would accept anything that you wrote here as true.
Oh, of course not.
Because she clearly is a demented, sick girl. I don't know how she finds work in this town, but clearly there are a lot of demented, sick people who want demented, sick employees. That's the problem here sometimes. I can't judge that. Clearly, this is miserable. I'm not going to ask her how she's going to establish to my satisfaction that you committed the kinds of sex acts that she attributes to you, because certainly you don't want that, and I wouldn't, because it's really unseemly. Suffice, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Am I going to speak at all this?
No, go speak outside. Somebody who wants to hear you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $346.50. Thank you.
Toodles. I had invited my mother over to clean my house while I was on vacation, and she accused my mom of being a thief.
Those who look like trash and act like trash are usually trash.
She's been nothing but a terror to me, pretty much like a little yipping chihuahua.
I'm glad I don't have to deal with her crackhead mother and the fact that she has no teeth and thinks she's a lot when she's not, so it's good. I'm happy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hardison versus Jarvis. Step forward.
Crystal Hardison is suing fellow motorist Robert Jarvis for vandalizing her Ford Explorer by kicking it. Crystal claims her mother witnessed the incident.
Ms. Hardison, what kind of car do you drive?
It's a 2005 Ford Explorer.
What about you, Mr. Jarvis?
95 Mitsubishi Galant.
What was the date of this incident?
June 2nd.
And you were going into a drugstore to get a prescription filled?
Exactly.
And what were you going to do there, Mr. Jarvis?
I was pulling in to get her my fiance a drink and a candy bar.
Was she with you?
Yes.
And you were both going to the same store, so you pulled in first?
Yes.
And it is your claim that Mr. Jarvis intentionally not only spit on your car, but also dented it?
Yes.
Mr. Jarvis says he might have spit on it, not intentionally, but he certainly didn't dent it. And your mother was with you?
Exactly. And my 11-month-old son.
Well, he's not here to testify, but your mother certainly is. When you went into the store, Miss Hardison, your mother remained in the car?
Exactly.
And when you went into the store, did your fiancé remain in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
She pulled in first.
She was already parked.
Tell me what she was doing, Mr. Jarvis.
Well, as I was pulling in, I was waiting on her for about 2 to 3 minutes while she was brushing her hair with the door open in the parking place.
So you were waiting to pull in because she had the big door open for this SUV, brushing her hair?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you waiting?
2 to 3 minutes tops.
Did you honk the horn?
No, I was just sitting there waiting to get in, being patient.
Why were you brushing your hair?
I'm pretty vain. So before I go anywhere, I always put my makeup on, brush my hair.
You were going to pick up a prescription?
Exactly. And that's my nature. If I'm going to a local store, I'll put clothes on, do my hair, and put my makeup on.
Hadn't you done all that before you went in?
I sure
before
did,
you
but
got
I
into
just
the
wanted
car?
to make sure everything was straight.
Didn't you see Mr. Jarvis waiting for you?
At the time that I opened my door to get my brush out my purse, no, I didn't.
But there came a time when you did see him waiting for you.
I saw a front end of a car behind mine, yes.
And you continue to finish brushing your hair and then you put the brush back?
No. Once I saw the front end of the car, I said, oh, he's waiting, and I closed my door and went directly into CVS.
What happened when you came out?
I got to my driver's side door, and I saw there was spit on the window. I opened my door. I said, Mom, somebody spit on my window. And she can tell you the rest.
Step up, please. What is your last name?
Durante.
Tell me what happened that day on the 2nd of June in the parking lot.
Okay, on the 2nd of June, my daughter had to go to the pharmacist to pick up a prescription. And she got out of the car, opened the passenger side.
That's we got past the fact that she was brushing her hair to make sure she looked perfect.
Okay.
Never know who you're going to meet in the pharmacy.
Exactly.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, Crystal came out. She says, Mom, who spit on my car? I said, don't worry. I got his tag number. I was sitting in the car on the passenger side watching an incident on Route 1 to my right, and I see this man walk up to the car and just cover the window with spit. I said, I'm going to get his tag number. I went to get my purse. When I went down to get my purse, the whole car, Judge Judy, just like, yes. I looked up, I saw him, I heard his door, bam, slam. He was going, he closed his door and walked behind his car and got into the driver's side.
Okay, so a passenger door slam, and then he walked around to get into the driver's side?
Yes.
And the passenger side door was where your car was?
Yes.
Got it. Now, do you have any proof of damage to your car?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Because, Mr. Jarvis, I'm going to save you the trouble, sir. According to your answer, you were having sinus problems that day, so
Yes,
you
ma'am.
spit.
Yes.
You don't know where it landed.
No, I didn't have no intention of spitting on the vehicle. No.
It was just a bad sinus.
Yes. I had sinuses all
And
that day.
you caused no damage to the plaintiff's car.
Absolutely not.
Now I'd like to see the... Okay. See, I'm going to saved you all that trouble.
Your car's green.
My car's green.
But your boot isn't damaged.
And besides, my car door don't go that high. It's
It may not have been your car, sir.
And I was never on that side of the vehicle. I was driving.
Mr. Jarvis, what you're asking me to do is to say to this lady that she's lying. Now, common sense, which is really what we're about here, suggests to me that you were annoyed at this young lady.
No, actually, I wasn't.
Well...
I was being patient.
Well, listen. Then you are the only one I know who, under those circumstances, wouldn't be annoyed. I would be infuriated.
But to be cussed and belligerent...
Just a minute. I would be infuriated if I was sitting there patiently and somebody was not just putting a baby in a car, because that you wait for, you know, adjusting a car seat or whatever, but somebody standing there with an open door, primping and brushing their hair while I'm waiting to get into a parking space would rile that out of me. I can't even tell you what it would do to my husband.
Can I speak?
Sure.
Can I have her come up?
If you want to.
I'd just like to say that night when the police contacted us, the only thing that they said was that he spit on the window. When he called back to the police department, the police officer said that this was ridiculous and dropped it. 30 days later, we received it stating that there was damage. Why that night? Was there no record at the police department?
I have no idea. Maybe they couldn't see it.
And she drove all the way home and the spit stayed on the window?
Listen to me.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Does she listen to me?
Free money. That's
I'm
what they're
speaking.
trying to get.
Does she look psychotic to you? No, listen to me. Not the daughter who was primping, who has to comb her hair before she goes to pick up a prescription. I'm talking about her mother.
I'm going to tell you, I'm a nurse. People are psychotic all the time and they don't
Listen to me. Well, listen. I've been around twice as long as you have. This lady is not psychotic. This lady did not take down your tags and report this matter to the police because she was having a psychotic episode. That's my judgment. Now, let me see how much it costs to fix your car.
Okay. I have two estimates.
You have a 10-year-old car.
$578 for Windex is a little ridiculous.
Oh, it has nothing to do with Windex?
There's no dent caused by him. That is definite.
That's just trying to get free money, is what it is.
I never got out that car, so nobody was ever on that side of the car at any point. I was in that passenger side of that car.
Nobody suggested that you did any damage to the car, madam. Cheaper of the estimate is $369.80. Is that right?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $369.80. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 219 on the calendar in the matter of Ergenson versus Lindner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Urgenson, it is your claim that Mr. Lindner's employees vandalized your house and your car. And Mr. Lindner says he wasn't there. As far as he's concerned, there is no proof that his employees did anything to your house and your car. Who do you live with, sir?
Myself and my 2 daughters.
How old are your daughters?
17 and 19.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical contractor.
And you have a restaurant?
Yes.
Sometime in July, according to what I read, you ordered some food from Mr. Lindner's establishment. Have you ordered from him before?
Many a times.
What did you order?
Antipasta salad and a turkey sandwich.
And did they deliver it?
Yes.
Remember what date that was?
The 22nd is the date of this, yes.
No, the
22nd
date of the first
is
order.
Well, what happened
for a
was
sandwich and a salad.
we ordered a couple times and asked for extra Italian dressing prior
When
to
did you?
that.
Well, I understand
Okay.
that, sir. I read the complaint. I read your complaint very carefully. Sometime before this incident, you had ordered a sandwich and a salad.
Which was 2 weeks before.
That's what I want to know.
Thank you.
2 weeks before this incident. And you had ordered a sandwich and a salad with extra dressing for the salad. What kind of extra dressing did you want?
Italian dressing. A couple extra cups.
And had you ordered that before?
Yeah.
And had they always accommodated you before?
Yes.
Who was the salad and the sandwich for?
Me and my daughter. Actually, my oldest daughter.
Who was eating the salad? Who was eating the sandwich? Who were you sharing?
Sharon.
And your order came, and they didn't send the extra dressing.
They didn't send any dressing.
So you called back the restaurant. And what did you say to them?
I asked them, they didn't bring me any dressing. I talked to one of their guys in there. He said, we're very sorry. We'll be out in 10 minutes. And I said, please do, because I don't want to wait another 40 minutes for like I had to wait for my order. I want the salad dressing right away. No problem, sir. We'll be right out there. Waited about 40 minutes, almost an hour. Nobody showed up at my door. I called and I said, can I talk to the manager? And he says, I am the manager. I said, well, I've been waiting for my dressing now an hour. They didn't bring me any. Well, I didn't know. He said, I didn't know anything about it. We have no drivers anymore. They all went home. And I got angry with him. I said, well, I want a credit on my food then. And he said he wasn't going to give me full credit. And I said, I would like full credit for $12. I couldn't eat anything.
You couldn't eat the sandwich?
Not by that time, because we normally put the salad dressing on the sandwich, too. That's why we order extra for the salad and the sandwich. The girls like it. They like the extra vinegar and stuff. So we got mad. The manager hung up on me. I tried to call back. Nobody answered. Nobody answered. So I let it go. And about 2 weeks later, I ordered the same meal. And when the driver got there, I said, we have a credit, and I shut the door.
Very grown up of you.
Yeah.
You think that was right?
Come see, come saw.
What is come see, come saw?
Well, I had a credit.
Do you think,
I mean, the guy agreed he was going to pay me half the credit.
No. Listen to me, sir.
Okay.
You didn't have a credit. You said you wanted a credit.
No, the manager also told me he was going to give me a credit on the salad, but not the sandwich.
That's right. That's what you just told me. He
Right.
said, well, we will certainly, sir, give you a credit on the salad, because if you run the kind of house where you don't have any dressing at all in your house for 3 adults, if you can't eat the salad, we're sorry about that, but we're not going to give you credit on the sandwich. You decided you wanted a credit on both. So when you took your food and slammed the door in the driver's face, which is what you just told me that you did, that was the wrong thing to do.
Okay.
There were a lot of other things that you could have done, other than stiff the driver. Because
Well, it wasn't the driver. It was the pizza.
No, it's the driver. Because they're giving them the food, and when they come back and he says, listen, we went to somebody's house and they wouldn't give us any money, either one of two things happen. Either they say, well, we're taking it out of your money, or they call you. Did they call you?
No.
So you don't know whether the driver got stiffed with your $12 meal. Anyway, Mr. Ergenson, it was very immature of you. And what I'm surprised about is, evidently you are a single father raising 2 children. It would seem to me that you would have enough to occupy your plate other than engaging yourself in these petty little situations that cause nothing but problems for people. Are you telling me that your girls are so perfect that you have nothing else to worry about? Or maybe they're not so perfect that you got plenty to worry about, that you were taking it out on some stranger.
No, my girls are plenty perfect. They're very
They're
good
plenty
girls.
perfect. Well, then there's something wrong with you.
Okay.
All right. Now,
For a single father that runs a business for 20 years and raises 2 girls since they've been 2 and 4, I think I'm pretty good.
well, then I want to tell you something. If your girls are perfect and you run a nice business and you don't have enough to do with your time, I'd start volunteering a little bit more, because this business is ridiculous, petty baloney. So now what you're complaining about is that the next day,
No.
2 days later,
No.
that night,
That night, I had
That-
4 guys come to my house and try to strong-arm me for $12 at my door and threaten to ask me to come outside so we can take care of outside.
okay.
And I
So
shut
you
the
had-
door in their face.
So this little escapade of yours, then 4 people came back to your
Yeah.
house
To threaten me
and
from
wanted
this
the
place.
12, just a second, and said they wanted the $12. And
Yeah.
again, you slammed the door in their
No,
face.
I told them I have a credit. I said, where's the manager? The guy, this one over here, says, I am the manager. And I said, you're the manager from the place? Well, great. Do you remember this? He says, no. And the other guy that's not here today says, oh, you were the one that complained about the salad dressing. I said, so you know about it. You know what happened 2 weeks ago. He said, yes. And I said, okay, then you have a credit with me. If you have a problem, tell the owner to call me. We'll deal with it in court. If you want to sue me for 12, sue me for 12. So that's how it happened.
Volunteer.
They threatened me in my house.
Volunteer. It was a stupid thing to do. Should have written it off. You understand?
Yes.
You're dealing with somebody who's got a little too much time on his hands and a little bit too much aggression in his gut.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was up a whole night and frightened because her father acted like a jerk. That's why she was up all night, because her father acted like a big baby.
And later today,
You're not supposed to fib anytime, especially not when you're in court, because that's a fib. If your mother doesn't...
Mitchell Ergensen says pizza parlor owner Stephen Lindner owes for vandalism to his truck. Mitchell claims Stephen's employees doused it with salad dressing.
First of all, Mr. Ergensen, when you order a salad with dressing and a sandwich, the sandwich doesn't come with Italian dressing. So what you're doing is saying, when I asked you, well, why couldn't you eat the sandwich? You say, we'd like to put the dressing on the sandwich. You're not entitled to that. You're not entitled to that.
But
The
that's-
sandwich comes alone.
Yeah.
The dressing comes with a salad. You want dressing for your sandwich, go to the store and buy a bottle of dressing so you have dressing for the sandwich.
But it's not the same dressing. Their salad dressing has their own taste and their own life. It's like when you go into different restaurants. When you go into different restaurants, do you like different salad dressings that different restaurants serve you?
Mr. Ergensen, listen
That's
to me
what
very
happens.
carefully, sir.
Okay.
Then you don't say, send me extra dressing for the sandwich that I'm not entitled to. You say, I'm prepared to pay you extra to send me extra dressing because I like dressing on my
If they
sandwich.
said it cost extra, I would have been happy to pay for it.
Did you? Just a second.
Happy to pay for it.
You were getting something for nothing. You wanted something for nothing. You're
No,
not
I did
entitled
not.
to that.
No, I did not.
Mr. Ergensen, you're a big baby.
Okay.
That doesn't
Thank
mean
you.
you're a big baby.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean your people were entitled to vandalize his house. Now, Mr. Ergensen, I will take a look at the photographs of your house
And my car.
and your car.
And I have the cups that they used.
I don't care about the
All
cups that
right,
they
and I have a
used.
new cup too. It shows in the pictures. And I also have repairs that you might want to see.
Let me see the bills. Mr. Lindner, the way to respond to someone who is behaving in an immature way is not to stoop to their level. There isn't a question in my mind, after examining these photographs, that this vandalism to the plaintiff's house was done by someone in your employ or in the employ of the restaurant. No question. You get me?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah. Now, I don't know whether you went home. I don't know whether they said, listen, he deserves it. What he did was he was acting like a baby, acting like a big baby. But you don't take the law into your own hands and commit a crime.
Absolutely not.
You want to file a police report and say he stole food from me? That's your prerogative. He did. It would be no different from him coming into a restaurant, having a meal, and getting up and leaving. And saying, well, the last time I was here, I didn't have a good meal, and I wanted a credit, and they wouldn't give me a credit. So this time, I'm enjoying my meal, but I'm not paying for it. No different. What he did was, he stole from you. And for that, oh, yes, you did, sir. There is no difference from what you did than if you walked into their restaurant or walked into a... I'm speaking. No difference than if you went into a restaurant, ate, didn't like the meal, they wouldn't give you a credit. And a week later, go back to the same restaurant, order the same meal, and get up and leave. And if the police came, they would have arrested you for theft of services, because that's what it is. They still had no right to vandalize your house. Do you understand? Yes. You don't resort to that sort of behavior because he acted like a jerk.
And came to my house and threatened me in my house.
No, ma'am.
And my daughter will attest to all that, too.
Listen, I don't want to get your daughter involved. It's bad enough she had
Well,
to
she
be
was
involved. It's
frightened
bad
that
enough
night.
she had to be involved with it
She was
because of
frightened
your
the whole night
stupidity.
from these guys doing this.
No, listen
Yeah,
to me.
she was.
Listen to me. She was up a whole night and frightened because her father acted like a jerk.
Okay.
That's why she was up all night, because her father acted like a big baby. Cost you $229.23. Is that right?
And lost wages in my work.
Well, that's too bad. Counted lost wages in for acting like a jerk. They're not allowed to vandalize your property. Cost you $229. I hope it felt good. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second. $229.23 less 12. $217.23. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Apparently, I didn't bring him his dressings, which I did offer to bring back, which he did not want.
I just wanted my order the way it should have. When they didn't bring me any, I was a little upset.
He yelled at me for a good 6 minutes or so in the middle of the street.
About principle.
I just think it's about respect between customer and business.
He was enraged, and he slammed the door in my face, and that was it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of White versus York. Step forward, please.
Lisa White is suing business owner Susan York for the cost to repair her vehicle. Lisa claims Susan's son, 8-year-old Dylan, hit it with a rock.
Miss White, it is your complaint that Miss York's little boy, I assume this little boy, was throwing rocks in the street, and one of the rocks hit your car, causing some damage.
That's correct.
And you want his mother to pay for the damage. Miss York says she doesn't think her son was responsible for that. He was merely rolling rocks, although she wasn't there. She says that it was really your conduct that was outrageous on that day. So tell me when this happened.
It was approximately 7 to 7:15 in the morning on May 12th. I was on my way to work. I was traveling down East Yacht Drive.
Where is that?
It's in Oak Island, North Carolina. As I approached the intersection where the children were, they were in the street.
How many children were in the street?
Approximately 5, 2 boys and 2 or 3 girls.
I assume they were waiting for the school bus?
That's correct.
Okay.
As I approached, I noticed that they were playing in the street, so I slowed down. They moved to the shoulder of the intersection. One little boy was throwing stones into the other empty lot across the street, and as I approached, Dylan threw a rock at my car, and I heard it hit.
You saw him do that?
Yes, ma'am.
So you stopped your car, and what did you do?
I got out, and I'm like, you, come here, what's your name? And I said, look at what you've done to my car. I said, where do you live? He said, down the street. I said, you get in my car, and I'm taking you to your mother to show her what you're doing at the bus stop. Well, he had extra stones in his other hand, and he threw those down. I said, no, you pick those up, you put them in my car, and we're going now. So he got into the car, and I took him straight to his mother's house. I told him to go upstairs and take the stones with him to show whoever was there. I didn't know which parent was home. I said, take those and show them what you've been throwing at my car, and send them downstairs to talk to me. And she came down to talk with me.
And what did she say?
Well, she asked him, did he do it? And why did you do that? I told you not to throw stones. I told her.
What did he say?
He's like, well, it was an accident. I'm like, no, it was not. I saw him do it.
He said to his mother it was an accident.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up next to your mother. Dylan, how could it be an accident if you were throwing the stones?
I was rolling them across the road, and she was going like 70.
Dylan, I don't want your nose to get long. I want you to tell me how it's an accident that stones that you were rolling on the ground hit somebody's car.
I rolled it, it bounced up on another
You rolled it and it bounced up? A rock?
It hit another rock and it bounced.
That's a fib, Dylan. You're not supposed to fib anytime, especially not when you're in court, because that's a fib. If your mother doesn't know it's a fib, I know it's a fib. You and your friends were throwing rocks, right?
Yes.
And one of the rocks hit her car.
Yes.
See how easy that was?
Yes.
What your complaint is, Miss York, and one that I quite frankly find compelling, is that Miss White exercised very poor judgment in putting your son in her car.
This is correct.
Because I don't think North Carolina is any different from any other place in this country. You don't take somebody else's child and put them in your car. That's very poor judgment, Miss White. I don't think there would have been anything wrong in you saying, if you live right down the street, you go right home, I'm going to follow you, so that you would know where he lived. But you don't take anybody else's child and put them in your car. Now, can I see a picture of the damage to your car?
I do have a photo, but you cannot see the actual dents or chips in the car, in the paint.
Well, it should just be one.
No, there's actually several. I have a police report stating that the officer noted 6 chips areas.
Well, he didn't chip it 6 times. He threw 1 rock. That's according to you.
He had several stones in his other hand. I don't know how many stones actually hit.
I don't know how many children were involved in throwing stones, but you said to me, I saw him throw a stone. I heard it hit my car. There's a difference in hearing 1 or hearing 6.
Your Honor, may I say something? When she drove to my house, I saw 1 little dot, and then in return, it ended up being dents. I never saw a dent. She even herself said it probably won't be much.
Well, what she's suing you for is $300.
Yes, ma'am.
Which isn't much. I think what your complaint is, quite frankly, despite the fact that I read your answer, and your answer gave me the same malarkey that he was rolling stones. Children don't roll stones. They throw stones at cars. And that's what he did, because that's what he just told me he did.
Right, yes, ma'am.
So you're responsible, because if you want to make sure that your son doesn't do that, and I assume he's done it before, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no, ma'am.
Never heard of him throwing rocks before?
Not at cars.
At anything?
I mean, he's a little boy. I guess he does throw rocks, yes.
Okay, well, if he's a little boy and he throws rocks, then you should be out there with him waiting for the school bus.
Your Honor, I would like to say, when he came home from school, I had asked him what happened. And he admitted that he had been rolling rocks.
Rolling rocks doesn't...
Rolling rocks, throwing rocks, and 1 hit her car. And then he proceeded to show me how she forcefully put him in her car. I have a written statement for...
I don't take statements from people. She had no right to put him in the car, take him in the car, ask him to get into the car, pick him up. Absolutely no right to do that. He wasn't injured. He went off to school that day. Did you go off to school that day?
Yes.
Did you have a good day in school that day?
Yes.
So he wasn't injured, emotionally or physically. But she did the wrong thing, and I've told her she did the wrong thing. So I read her the Riot Act. You still have to pay to have a car fixed.
That's fine.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Thank you.
টাইম ওভার হয়ে যাচ্ছে আমি খেয়ালই করি না যে আমার টাইম ওভার হয়ে গেছে
200 টাকা নাও
200 টাকা না আমার কাছে খেতে পারলে তো ভালোই হতো আমি দিয়ে দিতাম
টুনটুনি বাবা ভাই কি নাম দে রে ভাই পোলা পাইনি
পেয়েছি সামনের টোকেন পেয়েছি আমি কোনো চিন্তার কারণ নেই
ভাই মারে সামনে একটা হকার আসছে হকার ডিলার আসছে
হকার এসেছে
হকার হ্যাকার না হকার কারিং মেরে দিছে ভাই ওনার কারিং মেরে দিছে জায়গা এখন যা তোমার আমার মনে হচ্ছে কি ভাই আপনারা জিবে খেলতেছেন আমার মনে আমার
আয় হায়
ওই ভাই এটা কি ভাই এটা কি ম্যাজিক ভাই
ম্যাজিক হয়ে গেল হেডশটের এই ইয়া করো এইখান থেকে রিভাইভ দাও এইখান থেকে দাও
আচ্ছা দাও মরে গেলে
দেখো কি জানো রাক্ষস দুধ
এইগুলা ম্যাজিক আছে
না ইয়া দেয়া যাবে না এখান থেকে হবে আমরা এই জায়গায় যদি পারেন এই জায়গায় যাই না এই জায়গায় গিয়া খালি সোল্ডার ডালেন সোল্ডার ডালা মনে করেন যায় বাংলায় লিখে তেরি মা কা আরে সুন্দর করে করবেন তেরি মা ক্যাক ऐसा में এ ফ্রি রিভাইভ দিলাম
ফ্রি রিভাইভটা নাও ফ্রি রিভাইভ নে উপরে গ্লোবাল মালা ইয়া ঘরে বসো ফ্রি রিভাইভ
ঘরে বসে থাকি কোনো কথা চলবে না
ঘরে বসে
দৌড়
ঘরের ভিতরে উপর তলাতে গ্লোবাল মারা ঘরে বসে থাকবা চুপ করে
ভাই ওনার একটা হ্যাকার একটা চুমু দিব না এমবো এই গুলমার মিয়া আর গুলমাইরা একদম ওই যে বাম পাশে তো একটা কিনারো বাম পাশে হ্যাঁ এই তো আরে ভাই বা আর একটু এদিকে যাও
জানলে দাও
চমলক্ষ
জানলে দাও
জানলা দেওয়ার দরকার নেই আবার গুলো মেরে দিবে
বোম মারবে
হ্যাঁ বোম মারতে পারে
বোম না টমেটো
মরে গেছে
ইন্টারন্যাশনাল বকচোস রে ওই আরে রে এই যে আমি জানি এটা করবো এটা কি বললো
একদম লাস্ট মুহূর্তে শিট ম্যান
আমি জানি এটা মারলো আমার
এটা কেমনে করলো এটা কিভাবে
এটা তো আমি নিজেই জানি না
এটা এইভাবে কি সম্ভব গেমের কি 14 সার্চ বানাইছে আমি বুঝলাম না
শেষ গেম ওল্ড ক্যারেক্টার নাও অ্যাডাম না খেলে নাও
অ্যাডাম নে হলো অ্যাডামের জয় হোক কি বলো
অ্যাডাম নাও আমার অ্যাডাম লে আছে এখানে অ্যাডামের অ্যাডাম না ভাই অ্যাডামই বেশ এটাই বলতে হবে
গিল্ড ইনভাইটেশন দিয়ে আমাকে ফাটাই ফেলছে সবাই
কারণ ভাই একটা মিনিট কারণ আমি অ্যাডাম না নিয়ে এলি শুনে অ্যাডামে একটা তো তো নেই পুরানা তো দিস সব গরিব লোক তো ভাই আরে
ওকে
ওকে
বিয়ে করে স্টার্ট দিন নাকি
এখন